Darren. Come on, Darren. Come here.
What's up?
You... There's fucking... Man, there's zombies out there.
Zombies?
Fucking thousands of them.
What do you mean zombies?
They just... You know Bert from the chip shop?
Yeah.
Just fucking eating him.
Yeah, but it's just the way he acts normally.
No, there's fucking hundreds of them, man. Seriously, they are out there.
Really?
Look at the fucking door. Look out the fucking door.
Hold on.
Coming out the path.
Hold on. Let me just... I think you're a bit more...
Just-
Ooh, nuts and bunkers. Right, okay.
Right. Fucking close the door. Lock the door. Right.
Okay, door's locked.
Right,
Door's
cool.
locked.
Now, get the fucking... Go get outside.
I'll
out in the
go
garden.
and get the toolbox. It's out in the shed. I'll go get the toolbox.
You go to the toolbox. I'm going to close all the fucking windows because...
I'll be back in a minute.
Oh, God. Right, okay, fine. Close the door. Close the window. That's it, right. Close it. Right, okay, cool. You got the toolbox?
Yes, I've got the toolbox.
Brilliant.
Here it is, okay?
Fucking right, start nailing up the fucking
Big
doors.
fucking hammer. There we go. It's a couple. You have one as well.
Jesus Christ, I can't believe this.
Come on, let's get these in here. Oh, for the want of a nail gun.
I don't even know I should have got used to eating tins of beans.
I should have listened more closely to woodwork in school.
Oh, God. Mr. Vonke, where are you now?
Out there probably is a zombie.
Some
Where did he come
things
from?
in life are bad. They can really make you mad.
I don't know.
Other things just make you swear a
I hope he's going
curse.
to give us a hand.
I
When
hope you shut the
you're
door behind
chewing
him.
on life's gristle,
Come on,
don't
quickly, to
grumble.
the barrier.
Give a whistle. And this'll help things turn out for the
Send me the
best.
shotgun. Send me the shotgun.
And
There, take that.
always look on the right side of life.
Coming through. They're pushing on the barrier.
Molotov cocktail.
Always look on the light side of life.
Let's just make them worse. In fact, let's piss them off.
If life seems jolly rotten, there's something you've forgotten. And that's to laugh and dance and smile and sing.
Hacksaw.
If you're feeling in the dumps, don't be silly chops. Just push your lips and whistle, that's the thing. And always look on the bright side of death. Just before you... Oh, what is this? What's going on here? Get off my leg! What are you... Ooh, don't put your hands there! Ah, get your teeth out of my sequins! Not my platinum records!
Hello and... Oh, blimey, I'm spiking there. That's a good start, isn't it? Hello and welcome to Blackdog number 132.
Fuck me.
Why? What?
Just 132. I mean, come on. Isn't it about time we just jacked it in? Have we not talked to the public enough?
132. So very tired. Yes, well, I don't know what we're going to call this. Probably brains. Brains. Yes, we're back after a hiatus completely put on by ourselves by being lazy cunts. And anyway, but you know, for our now 48 minutes of horror, but we're not alone, as you can possibly hear in the background there. We are joined this week by Mr. Jim Moon again. Hello, Jim.
Hello, fellas.
Hello, sir. Yes, yeah, and thank you for your feedback for this week, by the way. I don't know if I want to just play it or just listen to you talk about it. Depends whether or not you want to go off and have your lunch.
Well, I think it's appropriate. I just cannibalise it, I think, really, for the show.
That's fair enough. Yeah, so, yeah, last week we missed it because basically we were supposed to be doing all sorts of wonderfulness down on the set of Convention of the Dead.
Yes. But
That resulted in shenanigans you'll hear about in a minute, and basically resulted in no one talking to us at all. But well, they did talk to us.
Apart from the director going, "Get out of fucking shot, you stupid twats!"
Yeah,
no, he didn't.
fucking
really.
move. Yeah, move your. Speaking of move, yeah, just move back a bit from your from your mic again. I moved it a bit. Sorry. Ah dear.
Okay.
On air issues. I don't know. Anyway, so we had all sorts of problems down on Convention of the Dead, not caused by the cast or the crew, but just
No, not at all.
purely the vagaries of film production and us getting in the way. It's about the size of it, isn't it? And yes, but so we couldn't record, so we're now doing Night of the Living Dead this week. A little bit of tidying up first, if it's okay with you two chaps. We'll record on Wednesday next week.
Yep.
which happens to be Halloween. So no surprises for what film we're reviewing next week. But there you go.
Hocus Pocus.
That's the one. Yeah, Practical Magic with Sandra Bullock.
No, we're going to Porn Horror and the Bitches of Eastwick. Yeah.
Dear, you just downloaded it. Don't make out that there's some excuse.
No, it was handed to me as a free gift.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway,
I found it on the beach in Bournemouth. It was behind a seat. Railway siding.
fair enough. So before we go any further, and we haven't even done any introductions. I'm Lee.
I'm Darren, as if you didn't know this by now.
Yeah, well, it's tradition, man. We've got to keep these things going. Anyway, so before we get any further, how was your week, Jim? Sir, how was it? How have you been?
I've been very, 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 very busy indeed, as usual.
Yes, very busy.
Which is not terribly exciting, but exciting things will come of it.
Ooh.
Putting together my first anthology of classic ghost stories.
Oh,
Wonderful
fantastic.
stuff.
That'll be through Hypnagoria, yes?
Yeah, well, through Amazon on ebook.
Ooh, it's a book.
Other formats too, yes.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I can just see it now. Some person far into the future will be doing a very sort of similar Hit the Bobs type thing, and they'll pull out your book and refer to that and the monsters in that.
Yeah.
That'd be beautiful.
That would, wouldn't it? Just full circle.
So I've got to ask, did you get a ghostwriter in? Oh! Sorry.
Fucking awful.
I'm sorry. Gotta pun it. I'm sorry. So anyway, so you're busy on an ebook. And you want to give us
it's a collection of classic ghost stories. The first of many from my newly minted publishing imprint. I'm setting up at the minute.
Fantastic. Well, that sounds really exciting.
It'll be kind of like a print Hypnobobs. I have an introduction to every story, an illustration for everyone, a bit of chat about everyone, and so like Hypnobobs, but in print.
Wow. Wow, that's really cool,
Excellent
actually.
stuff.
Yeah. So are you going to give us a little sneak preview of who you're going to include in the first anthology, or shall we wait and see?
Well, subject to change, as I keep
things
changing my
always are.
mind of what's going in the first one. Like, no, I can say that for another one. Oh, that's a disembodied hand story. There's probably enough of them for a whole disembodied horrible hands collection. That'll have to wait.
Well, why not?
But,
They've had zombies
but there
and
will
vampires.
be some M.R. James. There'll
yeah.
be some F. Marion Crawford, some F.W. Harvey,
Brilliant.
probably some E.F. Benson as well, and some Bram Stoker as well.
Oh well, yes, of course. Always got to get some Stoker in there. I'm sure along the way, other than Dracula.
Well, this is it. Not many people realize he wrote anything else other than Dracula. He wrote some absolutely champion short stories.
Yeah, well, I do because I listen to Hypnobobs all the time. No. Hey. Yeah, there you go.
Jesus Christ Almighty!
Sorry, what? Look. I didn't record you squeeing.
Jim hasn't got any money, or anything like that. He's not going to pay you or anything,
Hey, I can't help it. I've got a stack of podcasts, and I have my Mondays are Hypnobobs, my Tuesdays are usually The Question, and possibly Shonky Lab depending. Then it's Commode and Mayo, which I featured on this week.
Did you?
Yeah.
Ooh.
And then usually it's Harmontown on Friday, which is brilliant. If you've got any sense at all, go download that. But anyway.
I've just got to wait until at least one of the podcasts I listen to suddenly decides it doesn't want to do it anymore, so then I can start that. Do you know what? I think I've got a candidate for dropping.
Which one?
But it's none of the people that we actually know personally.
It's Shonky Lab, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a Shonky Lab. Ha ha, Helton. Ha ha, Pete. Goodbye.
In your face.
In your face. No, I wouldn't drop those boys at all.
Yeah.
Except for a minute. No, I'm not going to say
No.
No, honest, no. I've got one or two others that I can, put to bed, I think, that I've got building up. I've got I haven't listened to The Bugle in ages. I've got about 50 episodes of that, and it's like, I'm never going to get through that, am I?
Just jump to the end. You don't need to listen to
the end.
Yeah, the last couple have been good, and that's that. But anyway, so, moving on, how was your week, sir?
How was my week? Well, Yes, filming and stuff, and filming and more filming. And
Have you got your own trailer yet? Or
have I got my own trailer? Yeah, it's on the back of my bike. Here we go. No, So I've been going down quite a lot to the convention of the Dead Set, helping out there, doing little bits of extra work and stuff like this, and doing the trick of not being seen but being seen. A bit like Monty Python's, the trick of being seen.
So did you win the prize that they had down there?
No, I didn't. Right,
Okay.
and I'll tell you for why.
Hold on, before we go any further, we have to explain. Basically, there was a race on set between Darren and someone else.
A guy called Gary Baxter.
Yeah, as to who could appear the most amount of times in different costumes, pretending to be different people
Now,
in the film.
I have to say that as we were going on, Andy started having a vested interest in this. I think they were laying money on us.
Yeah.
And so he started giving me stuff to do, and it would just be like, appear as a teacup, appear as this, do this. So at one point, they ran out. We got so low on the costumes things that they had these things called morph suits, right? And what they are, they're just like this big fucking lycra condom that you wear. It just goes all over, and you put it on
like the human being from Community.
like that. It's like a big body sock, right? And you get in it, and once you put it on, you can actually see through the fabric, even though people can't see your eyes. And they gave me a pink one to wear. Anyway, I thought, all right, fine, whatever. So I took it up to the hotel room, and I took sort of my clothes off. I still had me sort of like boxer shorts on, and I put it on.
Yeah.
And then I noticed something, and I thought, maybe I won't go down in this because everybody will see little Darren, and everybody could see little Darren because the light just caught it. So it kind of, even though
you were casting a lap shadow.
I was throwing shapes in the house of dance. I really was.
In the house of pants.
Yeah, in the house of pants. Yes. So yeah, not too
Just
good.
call me the sundial.
Darren's Sun Diamond.
Yeah. So it would, I thought that was not a good idea. So I didn't appear in that, and I was going to appear as a zombie Q as well.
Right. Yeah.
But they gave me the outfit, and it got to the bit where I've got to put the little black hat on because I'm Q from Encounter at Farpoint, right?
Right.
So I tried to put a little black hat on, and it just would not fit my head. So it looked like I was trying to balance a giant blackcurrant glacier mint on my head. And there are pictures of me wearing this. I just look so much like a cunt. I really do.
Oh, God.
It's just not right. But, of course, the payoff.
Yes.
The payoff was wearing the dread suit.
Yes.
Oh, yes, baby.
Yes.
Boy, did they have to hose down that after I'd finished wearing it.
Yeah, I bet they did. I bet they had to peel it off. It was like sort of wallpaper paste in there, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. I did actually get to film a couple of scenes while wearing that as well. Got to film one as like just laying on the floor getting ripped to pieces, and then I got to appear in like a fight scene as the characters are coming down a corridor hitting people. And so, because I was this uniform is so fucking large, and I have to say, just to stop here a minute, the Judge Dredd uniform, the most impractical crime-fighting uniform ever created. I'm not joking. You have to have a fucking space of about 3 foot around each shoulder, right, to actually turn.
That's why they changed it for the film.
Yeah, I'm sure it must be that the character actually wears a soft version because these things were literally made of wood. The actual pauldrons, right? So anyway, they get me in this sort of like this scene where we're attacking the main cast.
Yeah.
And I go on last, right? I've got to walk in front of the camera, and I'm the last zombie they come to. I'm like the boss at the end of the level.
Yeah.
So I go for them, and it's like what they've got to do is they were planning this. I mean, right, okay, well, he hits you here, and he hits you here. Do this. You go down. He slices your throat.
Yeah.
I thought, all right, well, fine, we'll do this. Put the helmet on. Can't really see that much out of it, okay? Because there's like makeup on the inside of it now.
Yeah, it smells of sweat and desperation.
Exactly,
as well, didn't it? It was really weird helmet.
It wasn't that. It's just that my nose just touched the glass, so every time I put it on, you could hear like that, right? So it's like it's blocking. It's kind of misting up the inside. So I'm kind of leaning my head back to try and look at these people coming at me, and it was all sort of choreographed. But then when it came to the scene, they kind of lost it because every extra was trying to scrabble over one another, and so it just was like a mad bash.
Yeah.
And it got to the final take. Right, I mean, I'm knackered by the end of this, because what's happening is, every time they take me out, I've got to go over. Now, I'm stepping back. Each time they take a take, I'm trying to step back a bit more so that the people who are the zombies don't actually get in front of me when I'm falling over. Because I weigh a ton in this thing, right?
Well, you weigh a ton full stop, you fat
I'm
fuck.
going to fucking take someone out, right? I think I almost stabbed someone with the eagle head as well at one point.
Yeah.
So anyway, gets to the final take.
Right.
I go in, they hit me, and they just fucking go for it, right?
Yeah.
But what happened was, one of the actors had like a crowbar, right? It was a rubber crowbar, but it looked like the real thing.
Yeah.
And instead of just tapping me lightly, he fucking put his weight behind it and caught me right in the stomach. Now, it's a good job they're actually dubbing out, or they're doing this in, it's a slow motion shot.
Yeah.
And that you don't hear the audio, because exactly, you just hear, I just went, fuck it all! And that was it. I went down like a sack of shit. But
so much for the dread magic.
Yeah, no, I mean it did look good in the end. I'm glad to say, because we watched it all back on the monitors, and it's like, that actually looks brilliant, you know. So, but as you can see, I've attained a couple of injuries from it. I got a scrape on the nose. I got one on the arm there, and now I've got and it's still
got some on your nipples as well.
Yeah, I've got some on my nipples. Nipple burn, nipple burn, nipple
Or is that
burn.
just an excuse to play with your nipples?
It's an excuse to play with my nipples.
You dirty.
It's so unfortunate. I've still got the pink suit.
Yeah.
I'll put it on and do a special dance for you. I'm your private dancer. Dancer for money. Do what you want me to do.
The goggles, they do nothing.
Exactly, yeah. You don't want to see that. It'll put you off of chipolatas and Brussels sprouts for the rest of your life. I'll tell you that there.
Oh, God.
It's, hello, Lee. So, but apart from being slightly injured, still another good weekend. You know, I've really enjoyed going down and filming with the cast and crew. It's
and
been an awful lot
they
of fun.
were good fun, and they were all nice people, and it was really good to be down there.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So
one or two slight odd spots. But I don't think we could talk about them.
No.
We can't talk about them. Jim, let's just put it this way. There were a couple of people who have, let's just put it this way, been to conventions before.
Yeah.
And let's just say that they were of the opinion that they knew what they were doing, and they weren't actually part of the film crew, were they?
Well, there was one individual in particular, but we won't go into
we
that.
We can't point him out.
But it did provide us all with I think it was a unifying force after that. You know, it kind of, that person's appearance gelled everyone together.
Yeah.
So
we can't tell him to fuck off,
exactly.
but we don't. But we really seriously want to.
But it was good.
Yes.
So you got to dress up as a Ghostbuster as well.
I did. I went down there and obviously got to dress up as a Ghostbuster, which was quite cool, quite good fun.
The Dalek,
but the Dalek was the funniest. I basically Darren had got 5 minutes inside a Dalek rolling past one of the main characters.
Actually, I was in it for a bit longer. I did a couple of scenes. You know, I did it backwards and forwards.
I filmed them, but it was
excuse me, my rendition of "Do You Think I'm Sexy" by Rod Stewart while in the Dalek.
Yes,
that went down a treat. They loved it.
Didn't beat My Milkshake Brings All the Boys to the Yard in the Dalek. That was it. Damn right, it's better than yours. Damn right, it's better than yours. I can teach you, but I have to charge.
Take it, bitches.
Anyway, but the thing was that Darren was dressed up as V in this. At this
that
point.
Was in the evening, because that's when you
evening.
managed to get in.
And basically they wanted the Dalek to move around. And I was a little bit more confident with the Dalek than you were, let's be honest.
I was fine with the Dalek.
You went backwards and forwards. I drove around the entire convention area in it.
But they didn't film any of that, though, did they? No, they didn't film.
They did. If they didn't, I had a lot of fun. I don't care. And I got to stare at lots of cosplay bums.
Yes, you did.
Without having to...
Yes, there was a lot of cosplay bums.
There was cosplay bums.
One in particular.
And that's why Daleks have plungers.
Exactly, and they have one eye.
Oh, there was an awful lot of plunge grinding going on with like people doing the same thing with the plunger.
Yeah.
Oh look! Oh, it's got me in the groin.
Yeah, so why never? But the thing was, Jim, they had this Dalek, and it was built it was a full-size Dalek, but inside it was a Motability scooter.
You're spoiling it. You're breaking the full rule.
And it had a little remote control where they've taken the handle off and they've put it in front of you on a little board. Anyway, the problem is, obviously, I'm a man of a certain size.
Man of girth.
I think a man of volume, I think, is the best way to put it. And so you get in this thing, then they put the board on top of it, and it sort of rests on sort of like just under your chest area. And then underneath your arms, you've got these two rods where you control the plunger and the gun. And then when they put on the middle section, and then they put on the head, and the head's got like a rope that dangles down, 2 wires for making the lights go. And then you can also turn the head on a set of rollers. So it's like a bit like being in your one-man submarine when you're sort of driving around.
A bit like a one-man band, but Dalek-wise.
But nobody knows nor understands.
No.
But anyway, and the thing was, it's like Andy comes up to me, Andy Palastides, he comes up to me and he says, do you want to get in the Dalek and drive it around and do all this? And I'm like, yeah, great, brilliant. So I get in the Dalek and I get sort of fixed in there, don't I? And then just as they put the lid on, the fucking dinner turns up. The catering turns up, and everyone fucks off.
They fucked off before that.
And I'm stuck in there going, well, somebody, please let me out of here. And it's like, I couldn't get out, because this thing was like, it's like being trapped in an iron lung. And I'm just sitting there, and all I can smell is chips. And all I can smell is pizza. And all I can hear is the clinking and clattering outside of people eating large amounts of food.
Well, you see, what you didn't... you've seen the pictures, Jim, but I'll tell you what, there's a bit where he sat in there. He was sat in it, and they didn't even put the top of the Dalek on, right? They just had a top. And all you could see was this sad, lonely figure, right, in the middle of the floor. Everyone else had fucked off to the other end of the actual convention hall. And he's just sat there by himself. And I'm not joking, right? Imagine it, if you will, right? Okay? Imagine that it's like they do an episode of Ricky Gervais's Office, a sci-fi convention, okay? Now, you know at the end of The Office when they play the credits, and at the end of it they show one image. You know, they just show 2 seconds of something, you know, like a very sad-looking character, right? Well, you can almost imagine the credits rolling on The Office, and the final fucking thing they show is just Lee sitting in the Dalek by himself. There's fucking handbags and glad rags. Fucking just trails off.
Someone throw me a chip.
Exactly.
Exactly. Darren ended up feeding me like 3 or 4 chips through the top of the head.
Yes, I did. I got you beer as well.
And you got me beer. I had a beer inside. I was drunk in charge of a Dalek.
It was like, did you spill my pint?
Did you spill my pint?
But it was really good. Like I say, I got to stare at the Black Canary's arse with impunity. It was brilliant.
Oh, it must have been your laser vision that put a hole in her tights in, because...
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was like, you know, a great big one that I don't think she noticed for a while.
It was right in the butt cheek.
It was right on the butt cheek.
It was on the left butt cheek as well.
It was, yes.
Yes.
But she used it to great effects the next day when she became a zombie.
Brilliant.
So there you go.
Yes. Anyway, so perving from a Dalek. That's my great achievement on this film set.
Wait a minute. Now let's talk about the ultimate perving, shall we, Lee?
What?
Let's talk about the ultimate perving that went on.
What?
Who did you have sort of like a photograph taken with, Lee? You know?
But
Yeah, who was that? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Was it like
there's no
slave girl Leia?
Yes.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Okay. Right. Look. I'll preface all of this insofar as that I got this gig because someone had been too prolific in the film and got asked not to be in this particular
It's only
scene.
I didn't have a mask on, otherwise. There you go.
Yeah.
But I graciously bowed out and said,
You
fine.
had no choice. Well, I graciously bowed out already and said, no, you could be in it. And then they went, no, get him out. I'm going.
Yeah, and then he went, who?
Me? There's a scene in the film where one of the main characters basically tries to chat up a slave girl Leah, who is standing in front of a green screen. But I had to be the guy who was having the photograph taken first before this guy jumps the queue.
You did a great face.
When
they did the photograph.
Yeah, and the idea is that they take a photograph of me, I walk off, and this guy jumps the queue and starts chatting up the slave girl Leah. Now, the slave girl Leah just happens to be an official topless model, wasn't she?
Yes, I think she is, yes.
And she looked like, well, she was sort of about up to my shoulder.
Yeah.
But she had knockers that looked like... it's impossible not to say anything. I mean, they looked like 2 badly parked Death Stars. I mean, it was enormous bazongas. It was like I felt like I was in a children's ward, and they were all just poking out from underneath the swaddling. I mean, it was just like, what the?
What?
No, it's like little heads poking up out of the incubators.
Let's say that the outfit was a little bit revealing.
Yes, and
it was.
Yes, I could see her Playboy bunny tattoo on her back.
But you know what,
yes.
Jim? I'm going to him. Lean back. That way, your eyes can't possibly go down any further.
Yeah. So
just lean the head back so the eyes can't go down.
So I had to have this photograph taken, and I had to sort of go complete nerd, didn't I?
It was a chore.
But you know what? And I know this will be a shock to you, Jim, knowing how professional I am, but I managed to fuck that scene up 4 times. I mean, it's impossible. I mean, it's shocking and it's unbelievable how it managed to happen. But, a simple scene of putting my thumbs up in front of the camera, I managed to fuck it up 4 times. It's terrible. I had to do that take every time. And eventually they got so bored of it, they did a close-up, didn't they? And got me out of the shot. So there you go.
I did actually manage to speak to her, by the way, and
I ended up sharing a train train with her on the way home.
Oh, you did? All right, excellent stuff. Did you sit and chat with her, or
no? I just ogled her from a distance.
Right, okay.
Because I'm scared.
But I did actually chat with her, and apparently, the guys we met a few weeks ago when we went to see that film. That film, the number 2, Taken the Piss.
Taken Trois.
Yeah, Taken the Piss 2.
Yeah, Taken Roughly from Behind, yeah.
Yes. 2 guys we met who were for, I think it was Fright Fest, wasn't it?
Yes.
She'd actually been
Paul
to...
and Mark.
Yeah, she'd actually been to Fright Fest a few weeks ago. She's a big horror fan.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Yes. Well, she's a very big horror fan.
Yes.
You didn't tell her about this cast. She's not going to be listening to this bit. I don't
This is why I've been making all kind of faces at you. You've been talking. It's like, I don't know. Maybe she will.
And how glad we are to have her as a listener. Thank you very much. Oh, shit. Shit.
Give our regards to Phil and Grant.
Anyway, moving away from Convention of the Dead, right? There's no 2 ways of putting this. I've just got to jump in and say it, right? This week's Lee's DIY mishap of the week, right? This week's one involves putting up a set of drawers, right? And the long and short of it is, this can only be embarrassing, so I can already accept that I'm already. This is going to end up coming back to me on feedbacks for many years to come, right? So I apologise in advance. Basically, Lisa has got not a lot of room in her bedroom, and so she needs to have a set of drawers. Yeah. Now, so we got this set of drawers, and it's been sitting there in this big flat pack.
Hold on. Before you start, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, they're all there.
Yeah, all my fingers are there. Don't worry. But the thing was, right, I had a lay-in on Saturday morning, and Carol's going to take the kids out, and there's all sorts of other stuff going on. It's going to be a really packed day, so I had a chance to have a lay-in. And she said, don't want to push it, but, if you get a chance while I'm out to put the drawers up, that would be really cool. So I think, yeah, okay, fine. Nod off, and I suddenly think, time's moved on. Yep, I've got to jump out and do this. And I jump out, and I open the thing up. Now, bear in mind, I'm still naked. And I open the thing up, and I think, oh, okay, so it's just screwdrivers. I can do this with my Leatherman, which just happens to be by the side of my bed. So it's like, right, fine. So I get my Leatherman, and I'm like, oh, actually, no, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go and have a shower. So I went and had a shower, jumped out the shower, run back to the thing, and I'm sitting there going, right, okay, so I'm going to lay everything out, lay everything out. And then I got to building the drawers. It says, right, okay, to build the drawers, you got to glue the drawers first. So I'm like, right, okay, fine. So that's really nice. They've given you like this latex glue in a tube that you have to cut the end off. So, right, okay, fine. Snip, end off. Glue the drawers, get them done. Glue the drawers, get them done, and then leave the glue on the side. The sides of this box are quite heavy. It's quite a heavy wood. So what I do is I try to pull it out of the cardboard, but I can't. So I'm sort of pulling, and I think, oh, fuck this. Okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do one of those things where you put your feet on either side of the box and just pull the wood. So I do that. So I put my feet on either side of the box. I sit down on the floor, pull my feet on either side of the box and pull the wood, and it slides out. And I'm thinking, oh, well, that's good. And I suddenly notice, and I think, that doesn't feel right. Maybe, did I dry myself properly coming out of the shower? No, I must have done. Because my arse crack felt quite wet. So,
this is going to places I don't think I want to go to.
And I sort of thought, oh, okay, hold on, this isn't right. So I stood up and I thought, oh God, I haven't done something. This isn't like the first onset of like senility. I haven't shit myself out or something like that. So I'm
Because you do it in the urinal.
Yeah, well, exactly. You start to wonder, and I'm sort of standing up there and I'm sort of patting the back of my arse, and it's all wet, and I'm thinking, God, this isn't right. I've sat on the copy decks.
Oh, you twat.
But not only that, it's rolling up in my bum hairs. And like when you get the copy decks and it all goes kind of rubbery and it really goes all really sort of boing. And the problem was, I thought, well, it doesn't matter. I can just roll it up and kind of pull it out. But the problem was, every time I do that, it's like the old bum hairs go ping, ping. And then as I was sort of trying to move, my bum was kind of rubbing cheeks together, and so the copy decks was rubbing up by itself, and it was like every step I take makes this worse and worse, and every time it's like the bum hairs are going rip.
So back
rip.
second crack.
So then I had to basically get the Leatherman, get the little snippers, and basically prune my bum hole.
Oh,
for 20 minutes. Until there was this matted.
Oh no! Stop!
Matted sort of
stop it.
Copy decks lump.
Stop it right now!
Floor.
Jesus! Easter Bunny Christ!
After that, I managed to get the drawers all built without any issues whatsoever.
Yeah, I'll bet.
But yeah, but now I'm obviously suffering from the roughage.
It's going to start itching soon.
It's already itching.
Is it?
Ring of fire.
But that's the thing, it didn't get as far as the sort of the proper ring, but there are still definitely. I mean, I've had showers and everything, but there's still every now and again I sort of move and it goes ping, and I'm like, oh fuck, there's still some there. And it always catches you unawares in the middle of a meeting or something, and you move and go, oh, Jesus Christ, ow! And they're like, what? And it's like nothing. It's like having your eyebrows plucked, except in your bum, with copy decks. Moving on.
Right eye burning like fire.
We could do a duet on this, Jim.
Oh God. Anyway, so yeah, so that was my Saturday. On a completely different note, I went to see Frankenweenie.
No, I think that actually fits in quite well, actually. I bet it looks like Frankenstein's monster now. So
It didn't look good. I have to admit, I still haven't had the. I've had the fear. I didn't really want to check that out.
Do you know what I thought you were going to tell me? Not that you'd sat on the copy decks, that you cut your ass or something like that, and that's what it was all.
Well, it was a delicate operation with the snippers. Let's put it that way. Oh. Very delicate. It's one of those kind of like, I can't get all the copy decks, but I'm going to get most of it. But then what do you do with the copy decks? Because it's still a bit tacky and it's got all these bum hairs sticking out of it, and you're like, well, do I just leave it there?
No, hope in it.
How do I pick this up? I'm naked. What do I do? Answers on a postcard too. Blackdog at geekplanetonline.com.
Do you know what, Jim? I used to respect him as an individual. I really did. I used to say to people, yeah, Lee knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing. You can trust him. You can. Yes. Fucking hellfire.
Well,
you are like, I don't know, the sort of like the alternate universe version of Tommy Walsh. You really are. From the shit universe.
I'm the shit version of Tommy Walsh.
Yeah, you are the shit Tommy Walsh.
You're turning into Reg Prescott.
yeah. I haven't lost a whole limb yet, but I'm working on it for the good of the cast. Welcome to Black Dog number 455. I'm just a head on a pillow.
Yes, that's it.
On a different note, I managed to meet Charlie Brooker.
You had to read the
today.
book to find out.
Yeah, no. I was just going to read what he said. I got to meet the guy today, just prior to this.
Did you turn into a complete fanboy?
No, I didn't. He was a really nice guy. He was really nice, and he was really pleasant. And then I walked up to him and I said, "Oh, can you sign the book?" And he said, "Yeah, sure. And who do I make it out to?" And I went, "Lee." And he went, "Okay, that's 2 E's." And I said, "Yep, fine." So, and then he started to write on the inside of it. And he said, "What do you want? Do you want me to make it out to you? Do you want me to?" And I said, "Well, I tell you what, whatever you feel like, whatever you feel is appropriate. It's good because I love your stuff. It's great." And he goes, "Okay, then, fine." Now, I will say that his book, "I Can Make You Hate," is out on hardback. So in the inside cover, he's written on the end of the title, Charlie Brooker, "I Can Make You Hate." He's written my name. So it says, "I can make you hate Lee." And then his message, his well worded message is, "Fuck off, love, Charlie Brooker." And then it says underneath, it says, "Don't read page 171." And when you go to page 171, it just says "cunt" in big letters right across the bottom of the page. And you know what? I can't tell you how happy that makes me. I was genuinely quite happy about it. I came skipping out of the bookshop. He told me to fuck off. Said the book is about me hating me, and he called me a cunt on page 171. Brilliant.
Excellent stuff.
It's that kind of level of hatred and vitriol and misanthropy that I actually aspire to.
Yep.
And like I say, so there you go. Charlie Brooker, "I Can Make You Hate Lee" is available in all good bookshops. So there you go. I think that's the quick version of my week. I won't bother you with games and stuff because that's really boring at this point. And we've done 30 minutes and my bum hairs. I think it's
Wonderful.
probably time to move on with some news, don't you?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, we're gonna hear some news now.
Right, okay, news. The news is I've washed my hands.
Thank God.
That's a good start. Right, so we start off with Robocop's fucking bike. Anyone want to take that one? Anyone?
Yes, please.
Go on in.
I'm taking you to the fucking scrapyard.
Oh, I know they I advocate don't judge a film until we see something of it finished, but it's getting harder and harder to not judge this film. Really, I mean.
Well, there's an awful lot of sort of like bad rumours coming out about it, about the storyline and stuff like this. And it's the thing that bothers me though.
Yeah.
Is Robocop's wanking hand that seems to keep showing up in his pictures. Why the fuck has he got a normal human hand? Why is that not covered up with armour? You know, what is going on there? Why?
I don't know, because the thing is, the one thing that hand does, and I know it's kind of a nod to that whole thing in the original Robocop where he said, "I'll lose the arm," but it's like the first thing that does is make the costume feel like a suit. That's the first thing it does. As soon as you see that hand, you're like, okay, so his arm is inside that suit, attached to that hand, which means it goes all the way up to the shoulder, which means it's attached to his head, which means that bit still exists. So it's like, I don't know, it just seems to undermine the design, which already looks like a fucking spelunking suit from Mr. Wayne's personal collection.
Well, maybe we're missing the trick here. Maybe the hand doesn't go all the way up to the shoulder. Maybe that's one of the bits they managed to save, and they've just stuck it on the end of a robot arm.
But why?
Maybe they're going to CG it out. It's going to have a giant techno dildo on the end of it.
Maybe.
Techno dildo. Now that's a film I'd see.
Techno dildo.
See, that'd be an original property too.
Weren't they the ones that did Pump Up the Jam?
Techno. No, that's too unlimited.
No, that was Techno
dildo. Yeah.
No, it's Technotronic actually.
Technotronic.
This beat is fucking
chronic.
stupid. No, I mean, I go back to Dan Harmon in his Harmontown cast. You know, you can make something more interesting just by looking at two random things and putting them together. I mean, let's have a look around here. Look, wood clock, part wood, part clock, part timepiece, all cop.
Oh, cop.
You know, I just you could look at anything and make something more interesting than Robocop all over again. I mean, seriously, but, you know.
Would you watch a film about a wooden clock?
I don't know. Depends what the wooden clock's attached to. Who's it attached to? Why is it?
Tell me more about the pie.
I like pie. But that's the thing. It's just what is there to bring to the table with a new Robocop? Really?
I have no idea.
I mean, it's not gonna. If it's gonna be satire, then fair enough. But you can't that's just gonna be retreading the original, so it's pointless. But I don't know. It just to me seems a complete waste of time. But the whole thing with his bike, I mean, it just as I think Gareth Lloyd put on the Facebook group, which is facebook.com/group/the Blackdog podcast. But you can find he said something on there, which I thought was quite funny. He said, "Oh, why don't they just give up and just rename it Street Hawk and be done with it?"
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's right. Make fucking Street Hawk.
Robo Hawk.
Yes, yeah. And in fact, I always had a problem with Street Hawk. 200 miles an hour and he stops on a 10p.
Yeah.
And somehow Jesse Mark doesn't continue moving.
Or at least his skin doesn't, Oh, there goes my flesh all the way down the street.
Skid to a stop.
They need to bring
Crash.
back Automan. They really do.
Ah, yeah, Automan.
Probably the next remake.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be great.
Oh, that was Automan I was doing, wasn't it?
No. Street Hawk did that thing with the turning the 90-degree angles at 200 miles an hour. It did the
Street
Tron
Hawk
bike.
did that
Yeah,
as well.
it did
Yeah, but
that
I was
as
talking
well.
about the theme I was humming.
Oh, was that?
That was Automan, not Street Hawk.
Yeah, Automan with bit. Yes. No, we're not a Tron rip-off. Are you a Tron rip-off? No,
Yeah.
no. Yes.
Anyway.
But we have got Lucille Ball, son. Disney didn't have that.
Yes.
And for
Oh.
good reason.
Automan, you shithead.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. The
Okay.
James we can get up to.
Moving on to the next one, Iron Man 3, the trailer.
Iron Man
Well,
3.
firstly, there was the teaser for the trailer, which was 30.3 frames of nothing in particular, and now there's the full teaser out.
The full load in your
Yeah,
face.
out approximately 7 months before its release.
Yep.
Yes, and even finished. It's still finished. They're not even finished. It's still filming.
Yep.
Why show us a trailer this early? But
It's
anyway,
still poking. It's
anyone want to take that and run with it? Jim?
Yeah,
Well,
Jim.
this morning it was all over Twitter, and to quote Mr. Dan Harmon on Robocop, I'm sick of it. Sick of it already. It's kind of, people are moaning that Christmas stuff is in the shops now, and yet show them a bit of old twat for a film that's not out till the middle of next year, and they're wanking themselves stupid over it. And I guarantee everyone doing it are going to be the ones going, oh, it's shit when it finally comes out, because they've seen it all.
Yeah.
I refuse to get into this watching films by bloody installments promo bullshit.
Oh, Jim. Oh, we've missed you. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. It's just it's way too early. It's way too early. But then, unfortunately, the problem is, I guess, is that when you do something like Cloud Atlas, and where they release the trailer 1 month before it's released, and everyone just completely misses it. In the States, I think it's coming out this week, isn't it? And the trailer, which was 5 minutes long, came out a month ago, and that's
5 minutes long.
Yeah, about 5 minutes long, trying to explain it all.
Well, I think we can, it's proven with films like Dread that if you shotgun your, the actual advertising right up, at the last minute, then it doesn't sell the film. You've got to do that slow build-up. But then again, you go to the other extreme like this, where they show you a trailer nearly a year before the fucking thing comes out, you know.
for a second sequel
Yes.
Yeah, second sequel.
for a very well-known property.
Do you know, I've got to admit that the thing that worries me about this new Iron Man film, that I see a pattern. It's the same pattern that's happened in the last two. It's the same thing that's happened in the last two films. You have a man in a mechanical suit as the enemy, right? As an enemy in it. They did it in the first one. They ended it. They ended the second one with it as well, and it looks like they're going to end the third one with it.
Yeah, Iron Patriot, who's Norman Osborn.
Well, this is the thing. They're saying it's not the Iron Patriot. They're saying that it's the War Machine that's had a paint job done.
Okay.
So, because we all thought this when we saw it, it was like, Jesus Christ, yes, the Iron Patriot. Thank you very much. That looks good.
Because that starts tying it into Spider-Man with Norman Osborn.
It's the other Avengers or something they call them.
Yeah,
with Norman Osborn in it.
Dark Avengers, isn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, the
so
Baron Knights.
But I mean, all in all, I liked what I saw of the trailer. I mean, Ben Kingsley looks good as the Mandarin.
Yes, with a voice that just sounds almost as weird as Bane.
No, he doesn't sound like that at all. It's just you can hear the RSC acting voice slowly trying to break its way through.
People say there are heroes. I say there are wrongs.
Doesn't sound like that, so I disagree completely. Doesn't sound anything like Bane.
Ribble, wobble.
They did show the fact that
Fu Manchu. And you got that from my lawyers, all right?
Yeah, so shut your face. And you up the back there, shut your face as well.
I'm not Fing Fan Foom either, because that would be ridiculous, because I'd be a dragon.
Da.
But anyway, so I almost dread to ask at this point, are we looking forward to Iron Man 3?
I'm probably looking forward to it a bit more than I was, because it's like, I don't know, with stuff like this, it's like Batman films, it's you see the first one and it's great, and it's like the expectation for the first one to come out is always big, but then after that it's kind of like, yeah, that's nice, I'll probably see it when it comes out. I mean, my enthusiasm for the Batman franchise kind of wound down as it got on. It's like, I mean, I think I said so on here that I really wasn't that bothered about Dark Knight Rises in the build-up. There was nothing in it that really made me want to get excited about it. And I was more excited about, what was the other films that came out? The one that, Dredd and stuff like that.
Dredd,
I was
Looper,
more excited about that. And rightly so. Dredd, what a fantastic little film.
Yeah. I have to say there's one comment I saw that someone said that the new Iron Man costume looks like the same designers of diet caffeine free Coke got hold of his suit. And now that someone said that, I can't unsee it. With the gold Coke can with the red bits in it.
Yes.
So
well, it's more gold than red, this new one.
Yeah, well, exactly. Same with diet caffeine free Coke.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Cause
it's gold and red.
It's a gold-coloured can, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, maybe that's it. We should call it Diet Caffeine Free Man.
Caffeine Free Man. Caffeine Free Iron Man.
I can only assume that you're not exactly looking forward to it at this point, Jim. Are you?
Well, it's one of those. I think what annoys me about this kind of oversaturated marketing is it's kind of, look, this is the third film, fourth if you count the Avengers. You've got my bloody money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of those. And like, I think same for everyone else. If you've seen the other Iron Man films, if you've seen the Avengers, you're going to pony up the cash to see this. End of. You know what I mean? And it's kind of, I might be excited nearer the time, but it's too far away for me to think about at the minute. You know what I mean? They've got the ticket sale, the end.
Yeah, the studios I think they're doing it basically because they just want to keep the momentum of the Avengers going, which is probably why you're seeing it now, because they're just frightened of losing that because they made so much fucking cash from the Avengers. I mean, they literally had a license to just buy a money machine and start printing the fucking stuff after that. So maybe that's why they've released it early. They just like want to keep prodding the public. Look, it's the next phase of the Marvel thing.
Yeah.
And shit.
Oh dear. Anyway, right, okay, so I was going to say there's another piece of news. Hold on, there's David Fincher has been a little bit busy this month. He's has taken part in a Kickstarter, which is worth checking out if you can, because he's now going to help direct the CG version of the Goon that Blur Studios have been making.
Right, I think I've seen.
You've seen the Goon?
A sort of teaser trailer of
Well, that was a proof of concept, and Blur need need actual money now.
Yeah.
To fund like a 10-minute promotional that they can take to Cannes, and Fincher's going to be working on it.
Can I just ask, Blur Studios? I think I've seen their work before on these short films that they do. The one about the
Rock
the
Hound,
bloke, yeah,
the guy,
that,
yeah.
That was
and
it.
The,
fantastic!
And the caveman trying to kill the dinosaur and getting dragged all around. Yeah. I mean, if you go to Blur Studios, just Google it up. You can see some of the work they've done. It's amazing, and pretty much every cinematic in every game that's been worthy of note for the last 10 years has been done by them as well. But they're masters of their craft. But the problem is that they're making something that's kind of a passion project, and they just want some money to get it to fund it. And Fincher's involved, so he's going to be directing that, and they're going to be taking it to Cannes. So that's the first thing. Second thing is he produced a trailer for Halo 4, which is worth checking out.
Is that the one where they've got, because there was a
Master Chief hanging up in the air?
Oh, that one for the Sorry, no, I'm thinking of Halo.
Live action.
I'm thinking of Halo 3. I think it is the one where they had the live, where you saw a really nice shot where they're in like a dockyard, and you see a really nice shot of a distant battle cruiser just floating above it.
Oh,
and it just
no,
really
that was
nice.
Halo
really well done.
ages ago. But more pertinently, because I can hear Jim slowly sliding off his chair as we move into game talk, is the fact that he's now trying to get his adaptation of Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, off the ground.
Really?
Ooh.
Yeah, he's just received a huge boost in it, with Brad Pitt reportedly coming on board as Nautilus harpooner Ned Land.
Right.
The part played by Kirk Douglas in the 1964 movie.
I was going to say, please don't say he's Captain Nemo.
Yeah, apparently he's deciding what to, how far, if he's actually going to get on board properly. But he's basically put his name to the project, and they're taking that to Cannes. And this now means that Disney are likely to greenlight this film within the next 3 months.
Have they mentioned who's possible for Nemo?
No, there's no news. Just that he's been trying to get this off the ground, and now that Pitt's put his name to it as well, there's a lot of chance of that taking off. But obviously, that with everything else that Fincher's involved with the Halo thing, and with Goon, if it takes off, if the Kickstarter takes off, because they're after about 40,000 or 400,000. But which is, and if you see the promo that they've made so far of that, it's well worth a look.
What, the Goon?
Yeah, the Goon, definitely. But you can't beat some 1920s prohibition zombie killing.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember the trailer now with that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that zombies in it, didn't it? But where 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is concerned, who would you see as Captain Nemo?
Well, it depends how they do it. It depends whether they do a Captain Birdseye James Mason version.
If they could resurrect James Mason.
Yes.
I'm of the Nautilus.
Yeah.
I'm going to send it to the bottom of the sea.
Yes.
Going to attack squid.
These people don't need to have my technology. But anyway, yes. Or you go the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and in which case you have
Papa Lazarou.
Yeah, Papa Lazarou.
Hello, Dave. You're on my ship now.
So I'm not
Brad Pitt
entirely
on my wife now.
Yeah, exactly. Or John Rhys Davies doing another wonderfully racist Turner's Salah from fucking Indiana Jones. So
I'll do it. Fuck it. Just get Brian Blessed in to play it.
That reminds me. First, we got Brian Blessed in to be Santa on Gumball.
Fucking hell
Perfect.
Yes, here's Santa. But
no. I'll tell you what, right? This is what you do.
But Santa gets hit by a car in the first 5 minutes of the episode.
You forge a pass for me, okay?
Yeah.
So I can come in and pretend to be part of your crew for the day.
I think, I don't know. I'll see what I can do with that.
Oh,
But But anyway, he plays Santa and he walks across the road, and while everyone's kind of looking at all the tra la 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 kind of sing along montage, basically they just run him over in the first 10 seconds. Anyway,
I'll tell you what, I'll fill up the sock with the coins, right? Okay, you can administer that to the back of his head, and we'll get him on the Blackdog. There you go. What am I doing here?
somehow I don't believe that'll work. I think he'd kill us on the way out.
Actually, yeah. I think it'd take a lot more than a sock full of coins to actually take out. Because he's still going into space, of course.
Yes.
You've got to wait for him to come back again.
Yes, indeed. I think that's about it. I mean, who would you have as Nemo, Jim?
I don't know. I'm tempted. If you went to the proper faithful to the source to get someone like Art Malik.
Yeah.
But it's one of those. It's kind of since kind of reading League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, sort of going back to the Captain Birdseye model would seem just a bit wrong. I mean, if you're going to go for the recreating James Mason, just get Eddie Izzard, because he does a good James Mason.
Yeah. Eddie Izzard as Captain Nemo.
Actually, he could do really well, because he played Long John Silver recently, so he's done the whole villain. The serious villain.
Does that mean we're talking about Jason Isaac as well? Yeah.
Jason
Ooh,
Isaac.
Jason Isaac would be good. He'd look good in a bird's eye hat. He would. Captain's hat, right? Not a bird's eye.
I was going to say a tricorn hat. What do you want? What the fuck?
Do you think Sharia McKellen will get it?
Reboot.
Do you think it'll be Sharia McKellen?
Sharia McKellen.
Sharia McKellen as
West Village,
Yes,
Philadelphia.
but I'm on a boat. I've got my own submarine. I'm about to take it out. Ram that ship.
On board.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Hello, Bilbo.
Well, then you're into that was really good. Sorry, that just thrown me. Then you're into the Patrick Stewarts and all that kind of thing.
Well, even Eve, right? I mean, because he's played Captain Ahab in Moby Dick. He's very good in that.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I'm with Jim. You kind of need to kind of go.
Oh yeah, if you're going with the source, then fine. You need someone like, as you say, Art Malik, or some other sort of like.
Who's the other guy? No. The brain's gone. My brain's completely gone. I keep coming up with Mark Strong. Send the fucking boat down.
Oh, actually, I mean that would. Oh, I can see that. Oh, I can see that happening. If they've sort of like they've paid, they've used the budget on paying for Brad Pitt's sandwiches, for his lunch, then.
Well, yeah. I mean, unless of course it's going for David Finchers, sort of repertoire, and in which case you get Kevin Spacey.
I was thinking that as well.
Or Morgan Freeman. I remember Ned Lane. He was nothing more than a long, tall glass of water as I sunk below the waves.
There's a fishy. And there's another fishy. And there's a big squid.
Yeah.
Or how about this? Let's get in Christopher Walken. Let's get Walken in for the part. Hello.
Oh God!
You must stab him, hunt him down.
Fucking kill that squid, dumbass.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm the captain of this ship. I'm calling.
I had this
I'd
harpoon
like to
up
be
my ass.
under the sea in an octopus's fucking garden.
Oh God. Okay. If anybody else has any theories on who could be Captain Nemo from David Fincher's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, then please send them into Blackdog or put them on the Facebook group.
Or send them to Central Casting.
Yeah, I'll send them to Universal or Disney. Oh, I think it's Disney actually. Yeah, send it to Disney, and I'm sure that'll be filed away in a waste paper basket.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, now I guess we were going to go on to shitty superheroes, but as I was saying off air, we got sent one, and I need to verify the source
Yeah.
before I go any further.
Is it something like Grape Man or something?
No. I'm not
No?
going to let you know. But it got sent to me by Adrian Saunders today, and I have to check its veracity before I go any further. So unfortunately, you're
Okay.
going to be denied a shitty superhero this week.
Oh dear, what a shame.
Which I guess means we have to go on to a Jim Moon's Profanisaurus. Are you there, Jim? Ready for that?
I have one ready.
Well, before you do that, we got a little piece of feedback in, and I feel I should play this first
I think you should.
before we let you loose with the Profanisaurus.
Okie dokie.
Lee and Darren, this is Commander Shepard. I was listening to the Blackdog podcast the other day and heard you making jokes about the Profanisaurus. Let me tell you something. The Profanisaurus is very real. I encountered one once. Lost half my squad. Shepard out.
So, thank you, Commander Shepard of the SSV Normandy.
The real Commander Shepard.
The real Commander Shepard. Yeah, the reports of his demise are greatly exaggerated.
And all those rumours of a sex change I keep hearing.
Ah, dear. Well, yes. So there you go, Jim. Don't make light of the Profanisaurus. Do you?
I wouldn't dream of doing so.
Do you have an entry? Have you entered another Profanisaurus?
Well, this is highly appropriate considering
Okay.
the one I've whipped out.
Brilliant. Go for it. Go for it.
Rightio. Dowel. Noun. Multiple definitions. In carpentry, a piece of wood that fits exactly into a hole. In sex, a piece of wood that fits exactly into a hole. In Blackdog DIY, a piece of wood which will have to be surgically removed with serious medical attention from a hole.
Golf clap.
Oh, well done, Jim. given my last DIY mishap, that seems very appropriate.
It's uncanny. That came out of random.
Oh,
It is very uncanny,
oh
yes.
dear. Excellent. Oh, thank you, Jim. Oh, that's brightened my day up in no end. And and I would also just to change the subject very slightly, I would like to thank Matt Dillon for arranging the appearance of Commander Shepard, Mr. Mark Meir.
Well, that's two he's got us now.
Yeah.
So Pat Tallman
Yes.
and then Mark Meir.
Yes. Exactly. He's clearly
Wow.
the pathway to the stars.
He certainly is.
Or we can just pretend that he doesn't exist, and we just got famous people listening to us.
Yes. We go through him. I'm not sure which part.
A conduit.
But, yeah,
He's a conduit.
he's a conduit.
He's a conduit. He's a
I
facilitator.
don't want to know where the entrance is for that conduit. Thank you very much.
There might
Yeah.
be copy decks near it.
Oh no!
Might have to wear him as a hat.
There's
There you are.
none left. There's none left. I can assure you of that. Yeah, and Matt's done his shoulder in, so he's having a bionic shoulder installed, or he's had one installed, and he's
Oh, I
recovering at the
think
moment.
they managed to avoid that.
Yeah.
Actually.
Oh, right, okay.
Yes.
Well, anyway, I hope he gets better soon, and thank you so much for that brilliant little piece of feedback from Commander Shepard and arranging it for us. Well, there you go. So that's brightened everyone's day up, unless you don't know anything about Mass Effect, in which case...
Sorry,
Made
it
us
wasn't
happy.
Charlie Brooker, folks.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was. Do you know, I was actually standing in the queue and I had my phone ready to record, but it was just, there was about 1,000 people behind me, and it was just like, you know what, I can't do it. But chances are he would have told me to fuck off anyway and called me a cunt, and And I did actually I was going to actually ask him to say, I've heard of the Blackdog podcast, I've heard it's rubbish, or something very similar, but literally it was so many people I just couldn't do it. So it wasn't a Mel Smith moment of the week everyone was hoping for, I think. But anyway, right, okay. So moving swiftly on, let's get on to Night of the Living Dead as a part of our 10 seconds of horror that's
Yeah.
remaining.
2 weeks of whoa,
Yeah, 1.5 weeks and maybe a bit of woo.
14 days of knee trembler.
Right, okay, so the second part of our 24 minutes of horror, as it's now become, is Night of the Living Dead, George Romero's movie from 1968. Directed by George Romero, written by George Romero, tea made by George Romero, written also by John Russo, starring Dwayne Jones, Judith O'Dea, Carl Hardman, Marilyn Eastman, Keith Wayne, Judith Riley, Bill Carlisle, and Kira Schoon. It was filmed by George Romero, cinematography by George Romero, editing by George Romero. I think the tea thing was...
Jonathan Cohen was on the piano, but George was the one that played it.
Yes,
He
exactly.
was working the pedals.
Chaz and Dave and George Romero. And it was released October the 1st, 1968. The film was made for a budget of $114,000. It made back at the box office 42 million, which makes that a total now, as of 2009, according to Wikipedia, $256 million. Not
Wow.
bad for 114,000 quid. So there you go. It's widely seen as the mother of all modern zombie movies. Though, again, I'm sure, Jim, if you have any thoughts on that one, you'll feel free to chime in. While attending Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, George Romero embarked upon his career in the film industry, and in the 1960s, he directed and produced television commercials for industrial films. Industrial Films for Latent Image, a company he co-founded with John Russo. During that period, they grew bored making commercials and wanted to make a horror movie. And according to Romero, they wanted to capitalise on the film's industry thirst for bizarre. He and Russell Steiner, who is his other partner, contacted Carl Hardman and Marilyn Eastman, president and vice president respectively of the Pittsburgh-based industrial film firm called Hardman Associates. Yeah, and they pitched their idea for the then untitled horror film. Convinced by Romero, a production company was called Image 10 was formed, and the company invested, with everyone investing £600 or $600 each for a share in the profits. When it was found that another 6,000 was required, another 10 investors were found, and this was also found to be inadequate. Image 10 eventually raised approximately $114,000 of the budget. Co-written as a horror comedy by John Russo and George Romero, and under the title Monster Flick, an early screenplay draft concerned the exploits of teenage aliens who visited Earth. Yeah, that's how you do a zombie movie.
Yeah, of course it is.
Who befriend human teenagers. A second version of the script featured a young man who runs away from home to discover rotten human corpses that aliens use for food scattered across a meadow. And the final draft, written mainly by Romero in 3 days in 1967, focused on reanimated human corpses. Romero refers to them as ghouls, and they were never referred to as zombies, that consume the flesh of the living. And in 1997, in an interview with BBC's Forbidden Weekend, Romero explained that the script developed into a 3-part short story. Part 1 became Night of the Living Dead, and sequels Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead were adapted into the two remaining parts. Romero drew inspiration from Richard Matheson's I Am Legend, and discussing the creation of Night of the Living Dead, Romero remarked, "I had written a short story which I had basically ripped off from Richard Matheson's novel." He further explained, "I thought I Am Legend was about revolution. I said if you're going to do something about revolution, you should start it at the beginning. I mean, Richard took his book with one man left. Everybody in the world had become a vampire. I said, we've got to start at the beginning and tweak it a little bit. We couldn't use vampires because he did, so I wanted something that would be earth-shaking change, something that was forever, something that would really was really at the heart of it. I said, so why not have the dead stop staying dead? And in the stories about how people responded or failed to respond to that. that's really all that the zombies ever represented to me. In Richard's book and in the original I Am Legend, that's what I thought the book was about. It's about global change, and there's one guy holding out saying, wait a minute, I'm still human. He's wrong. Go ahead, join them, you'll live forever. In a certain sense, he's wrong, but on the other hand, you've got to respect him taking that position. Right, okay, moving on. The small budget dictated dictated much of the production process. According to Hardman, we knew that we couldn't raise enough money to shoot a film on par with classic horror movies, which we had grown up with. Best that we could do was place our cast in a remote spot and then bring the horror to them. The scenes were filmed near Evans City, Pennsylvania, north of Pittsburgh, and outdoor and indoor downstairs basement scenes were all filmed in northeast sections of Evans City near a park. The basement door external view was shown in the film was cut into a wall by the production team and led nowhere. As this house was scheduled for demolition, the damage that was inflicted during filming was permitted. The site is now a turf farm. Props and special effects were fairly simple and limited budget. The blood, for example, was Bosco chocolate syrup drizzled over cast members' bodies. Consumed flesh consisted of roast ham, and entrails were donated by one of the actors, who owned a chain of butchers' shops. Costumes consisted of second-hand clothing from cast members and goodwill shops. Zombie makeup varied during the film. Initially, the makeup was limited to white skin and black eyes, but as the film progressed, mortician's wax was used to simulate wounds and decay. Night of the Living Dead was the first feature-length movie directed by Jules Romero. He'd done a number of shorts. I'm just going to stop there because I realise I've been going on for about 20 minutes. So, there was lots of controversy about the film upon its release, not only because it had a black lead actor, but also because of the amount of violence and scariness and the fact the hero was killed at the end. Also, the fact that nobody got out alive was something that the studio really railed against and wanted a happy ending. But Romero and Rosso stuck to their guns and basically forced them into accepting that. Well, I shall leave it there. Because I tell you what, the rest is history, as they say, and I'm sure it's all going to come up in various feedbacks and what have you. So, straight away, let's get on with it. And so I have to say, Jim, what did you think of the film?
Well, I have a long history with Night of the Living Dead, which I probably should explain. I can't remember, actually, whether I saw this first or Dawn of the Dead first, but I saw them around the same time. And Night of the Living Dead, it was a film I'd heard about for years, wanted to see, and then, bizarrely, ITV showed it one night, completely uncut, which I videoed.
Right. Nice.
And in the manner of teenage boys and videos, no, not that kind, I watched this damn thing to death over the years. And so it's one of those, it's a classic, I love it, but I have to admit, this time, when I stuck it on, I was a bit bored. Yeah. Now, that's not the film's fault. That's my fault, because I've seen it so many times. And it's one of those films I still will re-watch, but I need a good few years in between watches. And sometimes I'll stick it on, get 20 minutes in and go, can't be bothered. Other times, it'll have you. This time it was these, oh yeah. I mean, there's bits that jump out and grab your attention, but then drift in and out of it, you know what I mean? And it's, also as we were doing with the Blackdog, I was trying to watch it objectively, which I just couldn't really do. I've got that much baggage with it. I know so much about the film, and having watched it with commentaries, and you're sort of going, oh yes, the chocolate syrup, blah, 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 you know what I mean? Oh, that guy, he was actually a horror host on a TV station, you know, and all these little factoids are swimming around your head. I think when I first saw it, it was still quite rarely seen. I mean, this was the dawn of the video age, and it still had a lot of its original power, even though it was only it was a couple of decades old even then. But it was still quite new, and the flesh eating was like, my God, I've not seen anything this graphic. You know, even though it's quite crudely done, it is still pretty effective. And the end is still, even this viewing when I wasn't paying attention, for the last 15 minutes I was fully sucked back in. because that end is just such a bitch. It's so bleak. And the final montage of those grainy, horrible kind of war photographer or war journalist sort of shots of them piling the corpses onto the pyre, and there's poor Ben.
Yeah.
And just going, you poor bastard.
Yeah.
What absolute rotten look.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, although, there are sequels to it, it was a self-contained story. And actually, what struck me watching it this time is that end, it's a bummer because Ben dies. But at the same time, you have the sense that the night of the living dead is over, that control is coming back, and that after 24 hours or so of absolute panic, it's kind of, well, they're just walking corpses. They're all messed up. They go up pretty easy. Once we mobilize, you could see, that makes the ending crueler, of course. It's kind of, but for a couple of hours, he would have been safe.
Yeah, if he just hung...
That numbnut sheriff took him down.
Just mobilise your army of rednecks. That's all you've got to do.
That's it. But I have to say, I agree. When the first time I watched it, it was like, oh God, and then when you sort of know that Dawn of the Dead's coming, and I have to say, I saw Dawn of the Dead first. It's like I kind of never felt like it was over, but this time around, I absolutely agree. You sit there and you just go, oh. So that's it then. They basically cleared it all up. Captain Hillbilly and his posse kind of just go around and just basically sort it all out in about 20 minutes. They just needed some time. Yeah, cool. So overall though, you were saying that despite it being a classic, it's a little bit dull. Is that how I'm reading it?
Well, the thing is, watching it this time, it's kind of. Part of the problem is with Night of the Living Dead is it's such a groundbreaking film. It's been the template not just for nearly every zombie film that's come after it, but thousands of not just horror films but thrillers that take that classic isolated location under siege template. Because it's not just a template for zombie films; it's actually a template for making a low-budget film. Full stop. Yeah, almost.
The bottle episode, exactly.
Yeah, and it's kind of, I think it's kind of trying to be objective about it. I think when I first saw it, it was still like, my God. But since like the year 2000, the number of zombie films has doubled.
Yeah.
I mean. If you look on Wikipedia, there is like you can get a full list. And if you look at the dates, you see kind of before Night of the Living Dead, very sparse. There's a flood. There's a flurry after Night of the Living Dead. Then another explosion after Dawn of the Dead, with all like the Italian cash-ins, the spaghetti horrors and cannibal flicks. But then once you get the Dawn of the Dead remake, and 28 days later, at the end of the last century. Suddenly it explodes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of, I'd say probably by now, perhaps we're getting near 2/3 of all zombie films have been made since the year 2000. Now, so when you go back to Night of the Living Dead, and if you sat someone new down to it, they'd be going, so what?
Yeah.
Because they've seen this done before, again, and better. Many, many times.
Well, that is true, isn't it? I mean, that's part of the problem, isn't it? It's groundbreaking, but it's also kind of really rough around the edges.
Well, it's one of those. I think it's actually kind of in my lifetime. It's drifted from being edgy cinema to being classic horror.
Yeah,
like Universal, like the Hammer films.
Yeah,
where you watch them now, and they're sort of quite spooky adventures.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Whereas when I first saw it, it was still like, this is edgy. You know what I mean? You see people getting eaten in it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly. Nowadays, if you just see people eating, it's like, oh, okay. I need to see a head explode or someone saw their own arm off. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, Darren, I mean, we saw this going down.
We had a group showing.
We had a group showing on the train, didn't we?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I kind of know what you think about it, but I mean, seeing as obviously Jim wasn't there and neither were the audience, would you like to explain what you thought of this time round?
Okay. Now I know is, it's looked upon as a classic horror film. It's like, this is the template that was laid down for all zombies to come later on. I think the thing that impresses me about the movie the most, and it's not got anything to do with any zombies or anything like that, is the fact that you did have a black actor as the lead hero, and he wasn't a stereotypical sort of like black character you would have back then. He's an intelligent, he's very well spoken, very intelligent guy, knows what he's doing, very much in control, and there's no cheap sort of racial jokes or anything like that in it. It's just very much, he's just treated as another character like everyone else. There's no issue of race made in it, and I think for the time, I mean, that is to be applauded.
Considering that was quite groundbreaking.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Well, I can tell you an interesting story about that.
Oh yes.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Which, according to both Dwayne Johnson, who played Ben, and Romero, the whole thing about having a black lead character, which, I mean, acres of a print have been written about the symbolism, even about the socio-political significance. It was simply the fact Ben was the lead character and Dwayne was the best actor they knew and could get.
Wow.
That's one of those things. That's one of those things where it's kind of like, oh, Deckard is a replicant. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, they both all play it down, but I can't help thinking, knowing, because, I mean, they're both very intelligent men, that once they thought, hang on, black guy is the lead, they did realise the significance. And I think there is, in the scenes with Cooper, it's nothing said, but Cooper isn't a fan of multicultural society, shall we say.
No, far from it. Yeah, I think that's safe to say. I mean, he's not a fan of anyone who's female, to be honest, either, is he? Really?
No,
Let's be honest.
He's just not a fan in general.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, he's a bit misanthropic all the way through. Go on. Anyway, Darren, you carry on. If you hear any clunking in the background, that's me opening up the back door because I am boiling my balls off in this house.
I think you better do so. So, I think if nothing else, it doesn't matter what you think about the acting of everything else, the way the story goes. I think the film has to be applauded for making that brave step at that time. Just going ahead and doing that. Because you say it caused a bit of controversy at the time. Now, it's
Here
very
it comes.
Taking a step back now, trying to put myself back in that time when the film first came out and looking at its subject matter. Yeah, it's a very original film. There's not really that much out before it that's like that at all. Let's see. It also, I mean, by today's standards, I think the modern audience, if they've never seen it before, it gets a bit of the John Carter effect.
Right.
Whereas, I mean, I'm hearing when John Carter came out as very recently.
Oh, I know. Where you're going with this.
People going on about, oh well, this has all been done before. We've seen this in Star Wars, and it's like, yeah, that's because this came along and influenced that.
Yeah.
And I think it's a pity that people look back on that and, modern audience will probably find it, it's all been done before because we've got an influx of zombie movies. I mean, we really have.
Jim was saying, yeah.
Yeah, it's, going on your point there, it's, zombie movies have never been more popular than they have been today. I mean, even back then when they had, like, the burst popularity. These days, it's all about the zombies, and it doesn't just stop in films. I mean, how many modern games do you see now come out with a zombie mode?
Yeah.
It's like at first you had like the one game that had a zombie mode in it. It's like, oh, well, that's quite novel. That sounds quite good. That now every combat game that comes out, like things like Modern Warfare, Call of Duty, has a zombie mode, and it's kind of like it's a standard feature. Yeah, it's not anything surprising anymore.
Yeah, they have become the sort of like lazy bogeyman, hasn't they? Really.
It's now.
They're so into pop culture now. It's kind of like some bloke bites someone and everyone starts joking. It's the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah,
they're very much rooted in popular culture. They're a very popular sort of horror villain these days. And I think it's now getting these days where you've got to find and do something quite unusual with the subject.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I think that's something that affects this film. If you've never seen it before and you go back to it, you know, you can quite easily think that, oh, this has all been done before. I've seen it done better in other places.
But I mean, looking now, even with that context, what did you think of it?
Well, I've got to say, right, taking off any sort of rose-tinted specs I have about this movie, it's kind of like we sat there and we're watching this thing, and it's like, why the fuck did you do that?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? Why would you say that? And it's almost as if, sort of like the lead actor, what was his name? Dwayne.
Yeah.
Dwayne.
Dibley.
Dane Dibley, yeah. I mean, it's almost as if he's sitting there thinking, what the fuck have I signed up for? You know?
Yeah.
Because there's an awful lot of stupid stuff that goes on. I mean, the girl who plays Barbara, her acting is absolutely fucking atrocious. It really is. It's just... And the things they get her to do in it as well, just... I don't know. It just kind of took me out.
I mean...
Her character annoyed the shit out of me.
I mean, the thing is, I think there was something that was said on the Mayo and Commode film review thing about Paranormal Activity. You do have to suspend your belief up to a point, because if people didn't do stupid things in horror films, then nothing would happen.
Well, the thing is, people did do stupid things in films full and stop, actually, in a lot of the cases.
Well,
I mean, the problem with Night of the Living Dead, though, is with zombie apocalypses, it's so into popular culture. And we've all seen the movies, we've played the games, we've had the dinner room discussions about it. You know what I mean? It's kind of Night of the Living Dead, I think, suffers badly because we all know what we do in a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We've thought into all these corners.
Yeah, exactly. The thing which they actually did in the remake, which I think was, I mean, we won't discuss the remake as much, but I have to say the one thing they did in the remake, which I thought was the most genius moment of the whole film, which is basically go up in the loft and pull up the ladder, right at the very end, because when Ben in this film goes down into the basement, which is kind of the irony of the whole thing. They don't want to go down in the basement, but it is actually the safest place in the end. But it's in the remake. Was it Tony Todd? Oh no, it's Patricia Tallman goes up into the loft, and she pulls up the loft ladder.
Isn't it Patricia Tallman that plays Barbara?
Yes.
And but you see, again, right? That's an improvement over the original, I feel.
Yeah.
Because Barbara actually does something.
Well, the thing is, in this film, in the original, I mean, I don't really want to get too derailed onto the remake. It was only the fact that they had the thing. But I have to say, the one thing that threw me, because it's been a long time since I've seen this film, was that when she first escapes and she gets away, and then she goes into the house and she gets all sort of Rambolina with the crowbar and everything, and it's like, okay, this is more revolutionary than I thought, because not only do you have, as I know it's been dismissed now, but you have, not only do you have a black lead actor in 1960s film, but there isn't bloody Sidney Poitier.
No, but he's still. I mean,
but you've also got a really strong female actress. A really strong female role. And then what happens is she just turns into a piece of blancmange.
Yeah.
For the rest of the film.
And suddenly she's like every other screen female in every other horror film at that time.
Well, actually worse, because she does fuck all.
Yeah.
And the camera seems to focus on her a lot.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, she is supposed to be in shock. That was the concept behind her performance.
I mean, I understand that. I understand that, but it was more the fact that it was like the fact that when she gets away, when she escapes, and then she goes into the house, and then she saves Ben at one stage.
Yeah.
There is this whole thing of, she's a bit more proactive at the start, and so the shock kicking in wasn't really portrayed very well. She just sat down on the sofa and then just stopped responding to everyone, and there was never any kind of moment where sort of Ben turns around and goes, "Oh, are you in shock? Is what's going on here?" Everyone just seemed to just walk around her, and it's like, okay, fine. I mean, I found the film kind of in parts infuriating and in other parts really interesting. And the one thing I really did like, which I don't think any of the other Romero films really captured as well, was the first fall of humanity. That moment of kind of like everyone sitting around, huddling around a radio, and then later on huddling around a TV, and it's kind of this whole thing of that's the sort of thing that really works for me with apocalypse movies. It's like, because that's what you do. We saw it with those riots back last summer. It's like, what happened? Rather than going outside or grabbing a shotgun or all these things that everyone says they'll do in a zombie apocalypse, what happened? All we did was sit around tweeting everyone, saying, oh, there's some guys running up and down the road throwing bins through JD Sports windows. Oh shit, look out, they're coming this way. Oh, they've stopped the buses and all this kind of thing. And it was kind of really interesting in this, because I didn't really think that Night of the Living Dead had handled it that well the first time I'd watched it, especially in consideration when Dawn of the Dead starts so strongly with that whole thing in the TV studio gallery.
Yeah.
But watching it this time, that I really appreciated. That whole thing of like they have to huddle around, they're getting as much news as the news can get. And then it's kind of like slowly but surely the channels are disappearing and things are going off and they're getting more and more cut off, and it is that sense of the world collapsing.
Actually, you make a good point about that. And I think that's something else to be applauded in this film, is that you only see and know as much as the characters do. You don't see what's happening in France or London or, in New York. Your information is as limited as theirs. So you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
You're in the same boat as they are. And, had you not seen any zombie movies beforehand, I think that would be an added element.
Well, it's something that most zombie movies always neglect, I feel. I mean, it's, the interesting thing, it's the interesting bit with most of these kind of horror films, these kind of events, or these sort of Mad Max apocalyptic movies. I won't say post-apocalyptic because that's after the apocalypse, which means the end of everything. But sorry, semantics. Moving on.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like with that kind of thing, watching how society reacts when it all falls apart is always far more interesting than just waking up like in 28 Days Later and finding everything stopped, because you almost got no context. He could be, as he was when they were filming it, wandering around London at 3 o'clock in the morning. Just happened to be a summer's morning, So, yeah, but to watch it all fall apart is always far more interesting and actually far more scary, because because, like I say, especially with these riots that you had in London, it was a nightmare, because you just didn't know what was going on. You were phoning, I don't know about you, but I was phoning my parents because they were in Bromley and Bromley was going down, and there was all sorts of shit going down in Bromley. And then there was,
if you remember, I said to you, let's call it off this week, because I don't really feel like leaving Laura alone, because Dad's just down the road at Woolwich.
Exactly.
Things were kicking off there. Not that they were kicking off anywhere near me, but it's kind of like,
but the way it was spreading,
you didn't know what was going to go on.
Exactly. And in that context, these things suddenly took on a whole more make it feel more relevant.
Yeah.
I mean, I know obviously zombies coming through your window is a bit different than some guy wanting to nick your sneakers out of JD Sports, but the fact of the matter is it was that sudden explosion of random violence that we couldn't understand. And the thing was, in the case of Night of the Living Dead, they never referred to it as the undead or the dead coming back to life until about way long in the timeline, by which time they've already got this whole thing of random acts of violence. Well, who they are, well, I don't know, it's just breaking out and things are just happening, and it's like, I thought that was really, in this one, and in fact better than most zombie movies, really, really well handled. And it's the one thing they always miss. I think that's the one thing that most zombie movies these days, modern ones, just completely lose and completely avoid.
Actually, what you say about the whole breakdown of society, that's one of the things I like in any post-apocalyptic or apocalyptic movies. I don't know, maybe that's the thing, or the reason I watch them. I just keep coming back. I know a lot of people maybe get bored with the same old destruction of society type thing, but me, I never.
But it's the most drama people get put in. If you wake up and find that everything's gone, you're like, okay, I've got to find some food and shelter. But if you're watching everything go to hell in a handbasket. You're embroiled in the confusion of what's going on. I think that's more dramatically interesting.
Well, have you heard about the thing that's taking place this week on television with Darren Brown? What he's going to do to one single person?
He's going to freak the fuck out of him.
Yeah, basically, he's got somebody who feels as though their life is not going very far, and he's going to make them believe that the apocalypse is taking place and see how they react. So I'm going to be watching that myself. That's on Friday night. I'm going to look at that.
Nice.
So that could be an interesting experiment.
Yeah. Personally, I sort of until he's getting a second mention now, Charlie Brooker.
Yeah.
Until Charlie Brooker done Dead Set, I always was up for the idea of basically setting off some pyrotechnics outside of the Big Brother house, and then just having Big Brother go, "You're the last members of society," and just dying, and then leaving these no-hopers in the fucking house to rot, and then just turning all the cameras off and leaving them in there.
Well, can you imagine that
And
as
then coming back
a
6
Twilight
months
Zone
later.
story?
What?
You know, where you have
Yeah.
these people in like a Big Brother situation, and he gets to the end where one thinks he's won the prize, and he gets out of the house and finds that society has been completely destroyed. You know, and it's like,
Oh shit!
so nobody's been watching me at all. Everything's gone.
Yeah, was that Twilight
Dead.
Zone episode called "I Feel Like a Cunt"?
Yes. Cunts. But
Anyway.
no, Dead Set was good.
Yeah.
Dead Set, I really enjoyed
But
that.
again, Dead Set it did it well, because
Yeah.
what happens is, everything starts to happen outside of on the peripheries, and then finally it's like you're almost clinging on to the unreality of what's going on in the Big Brother house. But anyway, I mean, back to Night of the Living Dead. I mean, there are a few things where it's culturally made me a little bit wince. I mean, Ben's sort of like non-hesitation to go smack Barbara right in the mouth.
Oh,
Just,
yeah.
just for the hell of it. It's like, hey, shut up, woman. It's like, yeah, that's fine. You've just fueled Ku Klux Klan hate riots for the next 20 years with that move, mate. And the whole thing with what's his name? Who's down in the basement?
Cooper.
Cooper. That's
Cooper.
it. Sorry. Yeah, Cooper with his kind of like, you stay down there, wife, and
Yeah.
you will stay here, and don't make, and there's that kind of implied violence that has been going on with them as well. And it's just a bit.
While it's forward in some ways, it's not very forward in others,
No.
which is its treatment of women. So,
Well, the thing is, that was society at the time, and you see, like 1968, and if you say 1968, you're thinking San Francisco, flares, free love, miniskirts, swinging London. But
That's
the
where
reality
I'm going.
was, most of the rest of the world, outside cultural centres like San Francisco or London, were still living in the 1950s.
Yeah.
I mean, if you told someone down Night of the Living Dead and said it was 1959, they'd totally believe it.
Yeah.
Because it is that kind of, Cooper is that button-down salary man, you know what I mean? Kind of.
Yeah. Suburbanite.
He aspires to be Dan Draper, but he knows he's never going to get there. He knows he's just a twisted, baldy, twirl bastard. And he's going nowhere. He takes it out on his wife and kids
Yeah.
and the Scotch bottle when he gets home.
Yeah, he's a photocopy engineer for the rest of time.
yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have to say, when we watched it on the train, we were both mocking it, weren't we? I think
Yeah, we were.
Laura's reaction was quite special.
It was quite graphic, yes.
I can honestly say.
Yeah, along the lines of, what the fuck is this shit you're making me watch, Barnard?
I think the other problem is with Night of the Living Dead, just looking at it objectively, is seeing where Romero goes with the concept of the zombie. To find them using tools and all this kind of thing feels
I never...
anachronistic to where they end up and what how they're gonna end up being.
I've never been comfortable with tool-wielding zombies,
Yeah. I mean,
like
it's-
spears
yeah.
and fucking rocks and stuff like this to smash
Yeah.
windows. It's,
And the whole thing of being fearful of fire and all that kind of stuff, and it was just it almost didn't feel like, it's almost like you feel like that if it wasn't tied into Dawn of the Dead or Day of the Dead, or those other sequels we never mentioned, you probably could have just got away with it. It could have been like another one of like Romero's versions of the Crazies again, or something like that. And it was there just little moments like that where as you said, Jim, there's a huge amount of baggage that comes with these zombie movies now, and you sort of sitting there going, hang about, he's picking up a rock to smash through a fucking window. Hold on.
Yeah.
What?
You got to remember the original audience. This
Wouldn't
was
have
all
known.
totally new to them.
Exactly.
It's kind of, as you were saying about the radio broadcasts, it's kind of, it is, for the original audience, a lot of people will be going, what is going on? I don't know. And then halfway through they go, my God, they're all dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas we know, it's not the Living Dead, it's the king of the zombie film.
Exactly. I mean, it's gone. Go carry on. Sorry.
I mean, I think Romero plays on that because I think the first zombie attack, the creepy guy in the graveyard,
Yes.
it's so well cast and so well put together because he does just look like kind of, a care in the community, wandering nutter you can see on any high street.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, like I say, I don't want to dismiss the film out of hand because, as you know, as we've all established, it is an absolute classic, and its influence is undeniable. I think the problem now is the baggage it brings along with it, and as you say, Jim, I think there's so much stuff. There's so much stuff it's influenced, and and while it, blimey, it's 114,000 quid, and now you've got multi-billion-dollar budget, World War Z kind of movies coming out, and it's like, you're never going to compete with that, or something like 28 Days Later, or even Wreck, which takes the idea and flies off in a completely different direction, but it all comes back to Night of the Living Dead, and you can never deny that it wasn't influential. You can never deny it wasn't an important film, and you can never deny that it wasn't a well-made film for the time and quite radical. But I think the problem is right now is that looking at it without trying to remove that baggage and looking at it now, it is, as you say, it's like watching an old Universal horror. It's interesting, it's important, and it's well made given the time, but you never feel that thrill of fear beyond the occasional moment. You never. There's nothing in Night of the Living Dead which would equate to being anything like that loft scene in Wreck.
No.
Which if you'd shown that to audiences in 1960s, they would have just shat themselves, and there would be no one in the cinema, and the film would have made no money. And it's interesting to sort of put it in context, but it's also interesting to sort of turn around and go, well, nowadays it has kind of sunk to that, not sunk, but it's kind of moved to that box labelled classics, where you just go, it's of its era, it's very important, but you can't really take it as a full-blooded horror movie anymore, I don't think.
No.
Well, do you agree with that, Jim? Because you've gone strangely silent.
No, definitely. It's just kind of. I've actually seen Night of the Living Dead in the cinema, in a midnight showing, in a double bill with The Evil Dead.
Ah, right.
And that was
one
like
extreme to the other.
about 1986, and it was still a riveting, terrifying film.
Oh yeah.
But in the years since then, as I said, we had that many zombie things now. Now it is more like watching a Hammer or a Universal. I think because everyone's seen things that are far more effective, far more scary, and I think it's a film you can still enjoy and
yes,
what have you, but it's not got that punch it used to have.
No, I think that's safe to say. Time has dulled its edges, as it were. But
I do have one question to ask the pair of you.
Okay.
And that is
12 inches. And yes, I still have glue.
What in the entire film? What was your favourite unintentional comedy moment? Because my bit was where Dwayne's standing there and he's going, "We've got this whole place secured," and then right behind him is a fucking open window. It's got no boards across it or anything, and it's like, secure then, is it?
Yeah, that's a good plan. I think my one was the van. The driving off.
Yes. Oh, that takes it.
Yeah,
the van.
The driving off while leaving the petrol cap leaking, pissing petrol, and then
it seems like Looney Tunes, isn't it?
Yeah,
I was going to pick that as well.
and then suddenly Ben not only does Ben go, oh, they've driven away, but then he drops the bloody torch out on the petrol, which then chases them down and blows them up.
Oh, that's it. Yes, and he fires the shotgun
fires
at the
the
lock
shotgun at
on
the
the
lock.
fucking petrol pump.
It's like Abbott and Costello or Laurel and Hardy. You're just waiting to see the flash on the horizon, really, aren't you? When he's going, hold on, we haven't got the key. Bang! Yeah, and you know, and again, I know this is baggage from too many zombie movies since, but that whole thing of, hold on, you've just unleashed a weapon which makes a lot of fucking noise.
Yeah.
Out in the open. You know, and what was like 10 or 15 zombies, which like half a dozen of you could have easily taken care of, is now about to become somewhere between 1,000 and 1,000,000 of them drawn by the noise.
Yeah. And they are pretty shit zombies, combat wise. They're just
they're kind of, they're proper classic in Romero ones, insofar as basically a good hard shove will push them over and allow you to escape.
Oh, Vic, I fell.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I don't mind that so much. It is that whole thing of, you know, on their own, they're easy. And you can, you know, do the Shaun of the Dead thing. Just walk around the sofa and avoid them. But, you know, on the other hand, get 5 or 6 of them in the room and you've got nowhere to go. And that's a different kettle of fish. And that was, I thought that was still quite well done. It was just the problem was, again, I was sort of in my head, sort of laden with baggage going, there's only 4 or 5 of them. You could beat the shit out of them. Don't make any noise. Turn the lights off, and none of them would turn up. None of them would know where you are. But instead, no, you have to take a sofa, set light to the DFS sofa, and throw it out in the street. So it lights up like a beacon for all to see for miles around. And you're like, oh, God, you've just sent up a flare saying dinner's here and rung the bell. But,
yeah, whoosh.
Whoosh. There you go. So, okay, overall, final thoughts before we move on to feedback. Jim?
Still a classic. I mean, I think it's interesting to compare it to Last Man on Earth, the Vincent Price film we talked around this time last year.
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
Which aren't too far apart in time. And if you watch them in a double bill, you'd appreciate Night of the Living Dead a lot more in context and see what a quantum leap it was. But at the same time, it's, you know, it's a classic, but you probably, you know, Wreck is far scarier. The end, you know.
But without it, you would not have got Wreck. There you go.
So it's one of those. It's, you know, it's a film to watch and be aware of its history, I think.
Yes, definitely. I agree with that. And Dow?
I'd say I'd agree with the thing of, it's a classic because it's the first one of its kind. And it does break an awful lot of ground there and has influenced an awful lot of people. You know, with right up to today.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I think its influence is still felt today, and I think, you know, despite what anyone else's opinion in the feedback's going to be, I think you cannot, no matter how you feel about the film, you cannot underestimate its impact on the horror landscape, on the thrillers.
Yeah, very much
as
so.
Jim said, you know, everything from Rio Bravo, Assault on Precinct 13, all of those kind of films are all, you know, all on that siege mentality.
Yes, very much so.
And it is the kind of grandfather of all of those kind of things. And you know, I mean, I tell you what, you could even argue Die Hard. You know, the whole idea that you're trapped in the building, that they're you're one man alone with no way out and no escape, and it's only your ingenuity that's going to keep you alive in the next 24 hours. You know, you can. I mean, it's probably a bit of a stretch because, you know, Ben doesn't leap off the roof tied to a hose pipe, but
still, but the idea of you know, one man being up alone against a whole horde of creatures or individuals that want to take them out. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So there you go. The verdict is, it's great within reason, and as long as you understand its history and its place in history. Yeah. Not much of a decision, really, is it? but one nonetheless that we will stick to our guns.
Yes.
So let's move on to our feedback. So we got some written feedback here, lots of it actually. Well, not too much actually, because we had one piece of MP3 feedback from some guy called Jim Moon, but I think we'll skip that this week.
Yeah, a bit of a waste of time, really. That one, isn't it?
Definitely. Yeah.
Fucking who wants him on? Jesus.
Yeah. I know you've taken a particular dislike to him, Jim.
That's true.
There you go. Yeah, I know you've been wanting to have words with him. So
yeah. Moving on, before we go into sort of meta existential angst. Right, okay, so the first piece of feedback is from Sean McGowan of the Question Podcast, which you can find at thequestion.podbean.com.
Although he was a fully formed Blackdog individual before the Question came along.
Yes, you know. But we've got to give
moved
props
on
to
now.
He's moved on. We've let him out into the world.
It's so good to see them grow up. And it's painful, but
down the road, that's where I'll always be. Every stop I make, I'm making new friends. Anyway, moving on before we start getting back to any exit jingles from 7 months ago. Right, so Sean writes, "Hey guys, no real feedback this week. Just wanted to congratulate you both on your foray into zombie feature films. Represent."
Yes.
I was actually afraid to watch Night of the Living Dead because it was one of those archetypal films that so many great zombie films, TV shows, comics, et al. Stem from. I'd hate to rewatch it and find out that it's shit, and I'm sure that on some levels it's cheesy and slightly outdated, but because of its relevance, I still have a hard time removing those rose-tinted specs. So, to avoid another Clash of the Titans moment, for myself, I simply chose to abstain and pass on that plea that no matter what the verdict this week, everyone remembers that what this film meant to the genre, no matter how the old girl may have aged. Sean. There you go. So thank you very much for that, Sean.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I was going to say there was a slight fear in my heart that I would turn around and go, "This is shit! Get this out of my sight!" But luckily that didn't turn out to be the case. It was just like, "This is dated," but that's kind of a bit like saying, "This is in black and white." It's fucking obvious it's dated. Yeah. It's fucking 34 years old. Is it? No, it's 44 years old.
Yeah. It's actually only about, let's see, when was it released? October?
68.
October, yeah. So
October the 1st.
So basically, it's 11 months older than I am, and I'm thankful for that.
That's really old.
Say I'm not older than Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, but you still remember films in black and white.
Yeah.
You old bastard.
That's because we didn't have a colour TV until years and years after everyone else had one.
Okie dokie. Right, next piece of feedback is from Matt Jones. Now, obviously, I think everyone thought we would be at Convention of the Dead when these were read out. I'm just saying that now. So we'll scrub out the Convention of the Dead references and add Jim. There you go. Yes. As is tradition now. So Matt Jones writes, "Hello, Lee, Darren, and Jim. Hope it's going all well down there. I finally emerged from the bunker of shun after refusing to watch Superman 4 with my thoughts on Night of the Living Dead. I only saw this film in full for the first time earlier this year when fellow Blackdogger Mark Last got tickets for the George Romero trilogy of the Dead screening at a rather impressive Prince Charles cinema. Oh, nice.
Very nice.
I'd seen all of the other Romero films, and while the more recent offerings weren't too good, I really enjoyed both Day and Land of the Dead. Back in the bunker of shun with you, sir." The rest of this shall be read in the bunker of shun.
So he enjoyed
Day,
yeah,
and Land.
Right. Okay. Now, which version of Day are we talking about here? Is it the Ving Rhames
No,
one?
don't you dare mention that fucking film.
I was going to say, because I've got no
ceiling
problem,
climbing
I've got no
zombies.
Problem with Day of the Dead, the original Day of the Dead. I think that there's some real good standout moments in that.
Yeah, Day of the Dead is a good film.
Land of the Dead. I'll tell you what, I've got some bus fare here. Take that
and drive to the bunker of shun.
The fucking bunker of shun. Be our guest. If you want a taxi, I'll pay for that and all. But get in there.
Get back in there.
And here's the torch.
Oh, here we go. He redeems himself. He goes, "And of course, Dawn of the Dead is a classic that I've watched many times. Somehow, I'd never seen the original, though, and I wasn't sure how it held up, having been made back in 1968. The film starts off promisingly enough with a sudden attack in a graveyard of Judith O'Day as Barbara and her brother, resulting in his death, before relocating to the farmhouse that is the location for the rest of the film. Dwayne Jones is impressive as Ben, a rare example of that era of a black actor in a lead role. The other inhabitants of the farmhouse fare less well, resulting in unintentional laughter from the crowd at my screening, especially Keith Wayne as Tom, who is a pretty bad actor, and I wasn't surprised to see that this is his only film credit, especially after driving off in a car that's on fire. But anyway, that aside, there's plenty of tension in this film, much of which comes from the human interaction as they disagree over the best course of action. The black and white cinematography also creates a creepy atmosphere as a growing horde of undead attempt to enter the house. This week I watched colorised version of the film.
Colorised version?
Which was better.
Awful.
Yeah, which was better than I thought it would be, but I think the original works better. Okay, right, there's a cupboard in the bunker of Shun. Get in it. Right.
Yeah. I think you need to get in there so quickly. We need to build you a matter transport.
There's a Joseph Fritzl sub basement in the bunker of
Trapdoor.
Sorry, Matt. We're moving on.
No, we're not sorry.
No, we're not. Anyway. For a film made on such a small budget, Night of the Living Dead is impressively made, with news reports on TV informing us of a larger scale of events that we are witnessing. I was surprised by the Venus space probe elements introduced in the storyline and the implication that radioactivity caused the zombie outbreak, as I thought there was never an explanation given the Romero films. There are some good shock moments with Ben shooting the annoying Harry and the bitten daughter attacking her mother with a trowel, and then there's the tragic end as Ben is randomly shot and tossed onto a pile of burning corpses, which I did not see coming. It's far from my favourite Romero film, but its influence on modern movies is undeniable. I'm now intrigued enough to watch the Return of the Living Dead, which I believe is an alternative continuation of this film's to Romero's other work. It's good to talk with you guys again, and best of luck to Mr. Palastides and everyone working on Convention of the Dead. It's a great idea for a zombie movie, and I can't wait to see the results. Zombie Darren Diamond should be worth the price of a ticket alone. Matt. There you go.
Yeah, but it wasn't Zombie Darren Diamond. Oh, no.
Darren.
But it's a special edition. Darren Diamond.
Darren of the House Diamond. Darren.
It's a limited run action figure. Oh, yeah.
I have to say, I thanks for that, Matt. And like I say, don't worry. We'll send food down. We'll pass some toast under the door of the bunker of Shun.
But it's dry toast. There will be no butter on it.
But I did. I'm glad he mentioned the Venus probe. How did you guys feel about that as the cause of the zombie outbreak?
It's not a problem with me. It's there's got to be a start off point anyway. To tell you the truth, I like it when they don't actually reveal where the thing comes from, because it adds something, I think, to the whole apocalypse. It's that mystery.
That mystery, that randomness. I mean,
not knowing patient zero, basically.
Yeah. And you, Jim, did you find it a bit schlocky, or?
Well, not really. It's just kind of, it's one of those things. For the time it was made, radioactivity was the explanation for anything you wanted.
I've got a 300-foot ant and the hordes of the undead. Radiation.
Yep.
My pants are on fire. Radiation.
You know what I think?
But also, as well, it's the kind of the way it does it is vaguely inconclusive. Oh, we think it might be radiation from this Venus probe.
Yeah.
Where it's not embedded enough in the story to say, yes, they are radioactive zombies. And so you can dismiss it as going, well, they're grasping at straws. Which is kind of my take on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be radiation from Venus, but in the truth, it's the authorities just going, we haven't a fucking clue. Stop eating me.
Get your teeth out of my neck. Stop eating my boot. Right, okay. Well, next piece of feedback is from John Campion. It's quite a big feedback, so settle into your chairs, ladies and gentlemen, because it's going to take me ages to read this, not because he's written badly, but because basically I can't read.
How big is it?
It goes on.
Oh my word!
Yeah, it does go on. It's at least 2 thumb swipes on the iPad, so that's a bad sign. Well, not a bad sign. It's a good sign, but it's just a bad sign for anyone listening to my babbling attempts at trying to read things out. So he starts. Hello, Lee and Darren, and he's got here brackets. Jim/guest host removers applicable. There you go. So let's start with this feedback with a confession. I've not seen Night of the Living Dead before watching it under the command of the Blackdog. Despite having watched it and rewatched it several other zombie films that day, even Diary of the Dead, Lord help me, and having DVD of Night on hand, I've never got to the film before now. And I like zombie films. There's something about the wholly mindless monster that lets creators put different meanings into their actions and the presence in a film. And perhaps crucially, no one has been tempted to make zombies into pretentious arses who sparkle and flounce about in capes.
Well said, sir.
Well said. Respect. Right. Zombie films reflect their times. In the 30s, the zombie was generally reanimated under the command of a necromancer, usually a sinister foreigner from an occult and exotic part of the world. In the 80s, it was by chemicals, e.g. Hell of the Living Dead, reflecting growing worries about toxic waste in the environment, maybe. And latterly, we've had them given rise because of viruses, sometimes genetically engineered. In Night, it was radiation from a satellite, fitting at the height of the Cold War and space race. The attitude to the authorities is telling too. In Night, they seem to be capable in protecting the society and are ruthless, having little regard for life as they exterminate the undead. By the time we get to Dawn in 1978, they're overstretched and becoming undisciplined as they struggle to contain the threat. In the same way, the citizenry changes over the decade from Night's organised cooperation with the police to Dawn's drunken redneck shooting parties. The exposition provided by the mass media dates Night, but the first news comes via radio. No TV in every room of the house then. And the inserts are rather stiff declarations by experts of deferred to deferent journalists. By 1978, The Dawn of the Dead, these inserts are mainly TV shows and the format is rather more lively and confrontational for the experts. By the time we get to Diary of the Dead, the media we get as exposition from is at least partly self-produced and reflecting the rise of blogs and podcasts, etc. I found it rather difficult to watch Night completely cold, although I've never seen it. It sets up so many of the genre's staples and tropes that a lot of the scenes suffer from foreknowledge. In the graveyard, for example, the odd figure in the distance turning out to be the first zombie was probably more of a shock in 1968 than for us. The shambling gate is all that you needed to put two and two together. Similarly, an ill child in the basement, well, despite my best efforts to give the film a fresh set of eyes, I wasn't scratching my head wondering, how will that turn out? One of the interesting things about the graveyard scene is that the zombie looks barely made up at all, maybe to increase that first shock, and I wonder whether or not Romero is trying to make zombies and living characters seem somewhat alike. Romero made the society zombie comparison explicit in Dawn, while zombies coming to the mall mindlessly as they had in life, and that is commented on by one of the main characters. I think the most obvious in Night is when Barbara is in the house, gradually succumbing to shock, and there's several scenes where she's uncoordinated and barely responsive, with the movements and expressions reflecting those of the undead. Which is a good point, I guess. Yeah, because it's that whole thing of how is she becoming? Is she becoming a zombie? Is that something? Anyway, he continues. However, the characters other than Ben seem to be following certain fixed ideas, as zombies follow their need for flesh blindly, and at times it seems that Ben is fighting not only the undead but the survivors too. Harry in particular is a single-minded to a point of stupidity, and his final confrontation with Ben was one of the unexpected shocks in the film. Hands up if you expected Ben to growl something about Harry behaving himself and let him off. We realised at the end of the film that Ben is up against the authorities too, following their own fixed notions of clearing the area affected by zombieism, with tragic results for Ben. If the film has a weakness, it might be that Ben is a great character. He improvises when he needs to and he gets most of the best lines. You be the boss down here, I'll be the boss up here. Whereas the others seem to run a little too much on rails. Again, it could be intentional to show that Ben's up against not only the undead but the survivors and the authorities too. For all that he's able to change his plans and is the most capable character in terms of securing the house and coming up with ways to escape their situation, the others, the zombies and the authorities frustrate him, either by active hostility, stupidity or indifference to his fate. That might tie in with possible interpretation of the Night as a commentary on the racism and civil rights struggle of the US given the time of release. On the film itself, rather than theorise about it, it was all in Ben's head, Jim. I found the camera work was a bit mixed. I loved the whole setup of the wide shots as it opened, and I found the graveyard scenes jarred with that jarred with that a little. Those with Johnny plunked in the middle of the frame seemed particularly meh. Things improved with the interior of the house, and there's some lovely use of light and shadow here. Talking of specific shots, one overly lingering look at the fireplace made me wonder if we might see a Santa zombie coming down the chimney. Ho, 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 brains! But thankfully not. Barbara's freak out at the house seems to go on a little too, but compare that with Ben's expositional speech, which, despite its length, seems natural as the way it fills the silence, while Barbara is in shock as he secures the house. The story he tells of the fuel tanker is nicely called back to by the news story on the radio later. I also noticed that what might be some early product placement, with Lipton tea caddy being given a fair amount of screen time as Ben looks for nails to secure the house. Nitpicking, though, I wonder why Johnny, killed by cracking his head on the tombstone, was able to reanimate given the damage to his brain is one way to kill the zombie. By the way, on my DVD, the chapter in which Johnny makes his reappearance is titled, Here's Johnny! Nice. Also,
Very nice.
Also, in missed opportunities, when the zombies knock down the power lines, no one says, how could they cut the power, man? They're animals. Where's Hudson when you need him? The zombies aren't the ones we know from the later films. The graveyard zombie is pretty fast for a Romero zombie, especially as he chases Barbara, and then there's some tool use by all of the undead, stones, lumber for ineffectually trying to smash things, that raises eyebrows, as well as being scared of fire, which I don't remember from the later films. Making up for that, though, there's variety. Dressing gown zombie, boxer short zombie, naked lady zombie, toga zombie. No, really, I'm sure I saw a toga zombie.
It's almost like
it is
Smurfs.
a toga zombie.
Yeah,
Yes,
it is a toga zombie. They're all filmed pretty well, too. There's a lovely shot as they overrun the house and the camera looks down on the horde that's incredibly claustrophobic. The wider shot from the eye level that comes after doesn't have that feeling, which is a shame. I don't know how much of the horde Romero had, but I think he gives the impression of large numbers pretty well. The shocks are handled well, as is the suspense. A second zombie stalking Ben as he lays into one with a tire iron is great, for example. The Foley artist who did the sound on the tire iron does impressive gruesome work too, and the notorious gut-munching scene gut-munching scenes aren't awful. Aren't awful. Oh, good God. But they suffer from being topped by stuff that we've seen since, despite the actors getting stuck in with gusto. I think most of us would struggle to muster. For me, though, the most disturbing part of the film are the series of stills at the end, genuinely unexpected and horrifying. Classic? Possibly, and certainly if you consider the influence it had. I still think Dawn of the Dead is the daddy when it comes to Romero zombie films, and the slow zombie genre in general. I wonder whether or not Night is necessary for an appreciation of that, as Dawn seems to be more consistent with the lore and had the polish that Night lacks. It might be time for a double bill, I think. Anyway, looking forward to the next week of horror and hoping I have that film. Cheers, John. P.S. Regarding last week's feedback, hello chaps, by definition, includes Mr. Jim Moon. In fact, in some copies of the OED, the Oxford English Dictionary, the definition of chap is illustrated by a small woodcut of a gentleman in a smoking jacket sat in a comfortable armchair in a library of dreams. Honest. Thank you very much for that. Fact.
Yeah.
Chap. Jim. Right, 2 more pieces of feedback and then we'll be moving on. Thank you very much for that, John. That was a fantastic analysis and very well written, as shown by the fact that I actually managed to read it without tripping over my own feet.
You didn't make any mistakes there at all.
Yeah, I didn't end up eating my own shoes in sort of frustration. So thank you very much for that, Jim. Sorry, Jim? John. Jim, God almighty, you, Mr. Campion, thank you very much for that. Thank you for the analysis. I think you're pretty much spot on with most of that, unless anyone else has anything to add.
No, not really.
No? Okay.
No, I go along with all of that.
Okay.
Very well said.
Well, there you go. Well, next time, John, we'll just read your feedback out and all go home, because that's more in depth than me just reading from bloody Wikipedia. I'll tell you that. Anyway, next piece of feedback is from Martin Thompson, and it's titled "They're fucking coming to get you, Barbara." Right, and he writes, "Good evening, Lee, Darren, Laura, and anyone else who should be featured in tonight's cast." That's also assuming that Darren has made it out of the Dalek. This is the second time I've watched Night of the Living Dead, and the first time I saw this film was on a train to Sheffield with Matt Dre of the Gentleman's Grindhouse. I can see why it's such a well-regarded classic, but I can't say that it's a film I enjoy. It's very kitchen sink sci-fi fantasy, as we stick a lot of characters in a confined space and turn up the pressure. The base under siege idea that Patrick Troughton era Doctor Who used so well is also around this time. Romero was great at world building in a film, especially throughout the use of TV and radio broadcasts. One part that sticks in the mind is the one of the TV presenters telling the story of how the dead torso came to life in the university. The ending is marvellously bleak shocker as well. I'm sorry to say that this time I fell asleep at the various points during the film, but there were times when not an awful lot was going on. Perhaps I'm more used to the faster based films of today. So, a classic film, but like The Descent last week, I can't see myself going back to it that often. Cheers all, Martin. Thank you very much for that, Martin. Yeah. I mean, again, you know, it's the same thing. Martin's sort of suffering a little bit from baggage of over-zombie saturation, I guess. Yeah. Is that? Yeah.
Well, it's interesting he says about it being kitchen sink, because that's something I've always thought, that the kind of concept of trapping these characters in the room is not coming from exploitation, but it's coming from theatre, like Harold Pinter.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I think, you know, because there's very low budget, shot on weekends, most of the cast are people they knew or worked with. It's kind of, if they had better actors, some of those talky scenes would come off a lot better.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the speech Tom gives, instead of being plywood speaks only on K-Tel, might be genuinely moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, it is that kind of very Pinteresque people in a bubble
standing
talking
still,
bollocks and getting on each other's nerves and bickering.
Yeah, coming in, spouting exposition, and then moving out of the way for the next person. But then, you know, going back to John's feedback, I mean, I think, yeah, he's right. You know, Ben gets all the good lines. You know, Ben gets all the sort of decent sort of storylines and the story nods and everything about the tanker and attacking the diner, all the zombies attacking the diner, and just watching him as he tries to run away. I think, you know, all that sort of stuff is really well done. But yeah, Martin's comment about the about kitchen sink does raise that kind of like what was it, Alan? What's his name? Oh God, I had it in my head just a second ago. Alan, I was going to say Alan Davies, that's not right, and Alan Rickman, that's not right either. Alan Bennett, that's the fella. Alan Bennett, that's it. That kind of kitchen sink kind of drama. Hello, Mother. She had at least 3 cups of cocoa before the zombies fell through the door and ate her brains.
I thought we were incredibly rude.
No, terrible. Mrs. Granville down the road, she didn't like it either. It sent up the price of grapes. I had no mistake.
Oh, no.
We were running out of food, but then I remembered there was a chocolate hobnob dropped under the sofa.
Several hours it took me to excavate it, but I soon was noshing on its fluffy, chocolatey, biscuity goodness.
I offered some to Mother, but she told me to piss off, you disgusting little bastard.
Yeah, I wasn't particularly upset to see her dragged through the door as they pulled... as I made my way into the coal cellar. Oh, Alan Bennett's Night of the Living Dead. Alan Bennett's Tea Time of the Living Dead. Coming soon to Cartoon Network. I never liked Mrs. Grimsdale, especially when she used to take the Jack Russell to wee against my front door. As the hordes of the undead descended upon her and her motley pooch, I thought, oh, time for another cup of tea. Anyway, I'm sort of moving on. Oh dear, the last piece of feedback of the evening is from Neil Shepherd. I would say Commander Shepherd, but we've had the real Commander Shepherd on this week, so it's the Pretender.
Yeah. I don't know. What's the rank below commander now? Lieutenant or something?
Corporal.
There we go. Corporal
Shepherd. Don't tell him, Bike. Anyway, so we have Neil, and Neil writes, "Evening, chaps," and by John's definition, that also includes you, Jim.
Yeah. Hello, Jim.
Jim. Thanks for the congratulations about James, of his young boy. He's doing well. Clearly my time is now short, but I wanted to feedback this as it was actually the first time I'd ever seen Night of the Living Dead, and I wanted to know if it lived up to the hype. Of course it bloody didn't. It's slow, badly structured, and there's appalling dialogue. Having a black protagonist is progressive, but that's rather undermined by the fact that the guy's an absolute cunt, who has no issue bopping hysterical women, shooting guys who piss him off, and dropping a torch in front of a car as they try to put fuel in it. Still, it has some great direction, use of shadow, particularly in black and white. It's also impressive how fully formed the concept was, with all the zombie movie tropes you'd expect. On the other hand, you have zombies using tools, cooperating, killing their victims before eating them, and turned by Venusian radiation. So there's clearly a few retcons in the offing. Overall, it's an interesting movie, but not exactly enjoyable. Conclusion? Meh. And then underneath, after a couple of lines, it's got hide. So he's off to run. So that's Neil Shepherd. Thank you very much for that, Neil. And that's the first truly negative response I think we got for the whole film.
Can I just say, thinking about it now, I have seen a different version of this film. It was
there's hundreds of them, isn't there?
It was a project by a bunch of fans who basically got together and added stuff to it. They had new zombie scenes.
Why?
Is this the version? It was on an early DVD box set of the trilogy.
That's right. And
really?
The extra footage comes from John Russo.
Oh no!
Yeah,
I believe it involves an arsehole preacher.
Yes, because it going on what we said about this film, or we said about the film, feeling like it's one contained thing. You know, like the humans have a bit of trouble to begin with, but by the end of the film, they've kind of got the problem. You know,
it's sorted.
They're kind of on the way to getting it all sorted out, and this version does actually emphasise that quite a bit. Although it really could have done without having that fucking preacher in it.
See, I had. Oh, sorry, I kicked the stand. I have to say, I know we're kind of drifting off now, but at the end of the day, I have a problem with John Russo anyway because you won't know this person, Jim, but do you remember Tony Day, Darren?
Yes, I do remember Tony Day.
Now, Tony Day was a friend of mine who was absolutely obsessed with Dawn of the Dead. I think I mentioned him to you before, Jim.
Oh, yeah.
He's got all the thousands of different versions of Dawn of the Dead.
Do you mind if I just shut that door? Is that okay?
Why? Why? You get a bit
I'm
freaked
starting
out.
to feel really cold now.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, go shut the door. Anyway, the thing was, he got right into this whole thing of sort of like collecting all the John Russo stuff. And John Russo had these videos which were cashing in on the whole Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, co-writer of it and all this kind of thing. And Tony, basically, at the time, because it was on video, he spent like hundreds of pounds trying to get these videos off of like John Russo's, fan club or whatever it is, and imported from Pittsburgh back to his house in Bromley. Anyway, and it just turned out to be nothing more than an hour or 3/4 of John Russo walking around his library, showing you bits of video of other films that he had nothing to do with, and then every 5 minutes going, "I mentioned this film in my book." And he goes, and in my book, which you can find on any good bookshelf, worth $24.99, you can see that I liked Q the Winged Serpent. Here's a clip. And then you see Q the Winged Serpent, and it'd be like, now, Q the Winged Serpent was very good, but in my book, you can see that as a writer of zombies, there were other zombie movies, a bit like this one. And it'd just show another clip of a film which has obviously just lapsed its copyright. And and it was like, I just remember Tony just sitting there, and we just sat there watching this film for like an hour and 3/4, and it was just an advert for John Russo's fucking book, and lots of shitty clips ripped off a video badly. I think one even had like an anti-piracy message rolling along the bottom that he
Jesus.
ripped off. And so ever since then, I've had nothing but contempt for John Russo. And he's dead now, isn't he?
He should be.
Well, I hope he enjoyed that $150 he got from Tony Day back in 1983. Motherfucker. Anyway, so that's that. Moving on. So, I think that's it. I think we've come to the end of our feedback. We've come to the end of the podcast, which is now 2 hours and 16 minutes long. Hooray!
Hooray.
Hurrah! So, before I say goodbye to everyone and thank you to everyone, I'd just like to say we're going to talk about our next film. What's our next film going to be? Well, you see, at the start of this podcast, I said, hey, we're recording on Halloween. Guess what our film is? After a little bit of thought...
The Wedding Singer with Adam Sandler.
Exactly. The Muppet Christmas Babies. And after a little discussion with my colleagues here at Blackdog Towers, we've come to the conclusion that actually having Halloween as the film would be absolutely not the right idea. Because it would just be a repeat of this, the whole Night of the Living Dead thing. It's the dawn of the slasher movie, so Halloween would just be the same feedback all over again. So, for our last of our
10 minutes of terror.
Indeterminate level of horror, indeterminate era of horror, we're going to have a different movie, which will be recorded on Wednesday, the 31st of October. And it is Stanley Kubrick's classic, The Shining, adaptation of Stephen King's classic novel, starring Shelley Long, a little kid, Hong Kong Phooey, and Jack Nicholson. So, if you want to send in any feedback for Hong Kong Phooey, The Wilderness Years, The Shining, then send your emails in to blackdog@geekplanetonline.com. or leave something on our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups, The Black Dog Podcast.
Preferably not a bag of
flaming shit. No. Well, you shouldn't do for The Shining. I mean, it's a classic.
No, just in general.
Right, okay, fair enough. Yeah, don't leave us that. So, that's that. Jim, come on. You've got to have the final word, so plug away, sir. Give us your Hypnogoria, Hypnobobs plug. Go for it, sir.
You can also hear me on the Hypnobobs podcast, which this weekend reaches its 100th episode.
Centennial.
We got to send you feedback. Go on, carry on.
Which you can find on Geek Planet Online, hypnogoria.com, or on iTunes.
Excellent. And we have a Tumblr site? No, sorry. And reviews would be lovely. But anyway, and much appreciated. So go review. Anyway, right. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Darren, for staying awake. Thank you, Jim, for not polishing off that bottle of whiskey.
Too late.
Oh, shit. People of Darlington, get in your homes. Do not leave. Stay inside. Stay inside. Oh, dear. And we shall see you all next week for the last of our indeterminate length of horror, which will be The Shining. So, until then, we'll see you all next week. Take care and sleep well. Ooh. Bye.
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 Now is the time to say goodbye. Goodbye. Now is the time to yield a sigh.
Yield it.
Now is the time to wend our way until we meet again some sunny day. Goodbye, we're leaving you, Skeletor. Goodbye, we met fun. Goodbye, goodbye, we're leaving you, Skeletor. Goodbye, we met fun. Goodbye,
No, I like it in here.